What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise post-game show presented by Bet Online. The Blazers tonight played a extremely ugly game, Eric. Extremely ugly. But they end up pulling out the win after their 6-game road trip. They come home and take care of business against the San Antonio Spurs, 117-110. We'll have you covered with the post-game show. We'll have some constructive criticism for this team during this stream, and we'll focus on the good and the bad, because there was a lot of bad, but still, a win is a win. But first, this stream is brought to you by Bet Online. Use promo code BELIEVE for 50% rewards. Your Portland Trail Blazers going into this game, I think we're tied for the best record against the spread. So if you had been feeling the winning vibes for the Portland Trail Blazers and putting down some money on them, you could have cashed out. But you can still receive 50% rewards by using that promo code BELIEVE. There's live betting, pregame betting with betting on spreads and all that sort of stuff. If you want to get in on some NBA action, definitely check out our friends over on Bet Online. All right, Eric. Hi.
Hello.
What was this game?
It's one of those games where you find yourself in a situation where you play like absolute crap for most of the game, and you have a couple players hit some shots. Like we had Grant and Sharpe. Both were tremendous in the first half, keeping us in the game, and then eventually we took the lead right before half. But these type of games, you just have to escape with a win and not let it turn into a loss. And you have to be a good team to win a game when you play this poorly overall. And Portland did just that. So I don't think it's necessarily a negative thing. It's just one of those things when you look back on it a few games from now. If it helps you in your record, you're great. If you lose this game and fall to 9-5 after losing to Dallas, then you're kind of wondering, are we going to see maybe some bad games like this coming up? Are we going to be in a free-for-all or what? But they got the job done when it mattered. I mean, it shouldn't have been close, but sometimes you find yourself in games like this and you just got to find a way to get a victory, and that's what they did.
Yep, absolutely. I don't even know how to feel about this game still. Went live a little bit later. I need to get something to drink. I wasn't able to catch the first half, had a wreck game, but you did, so, I'll rely on you for breaking down the first half. But the second half, oh my goodness, man. There was 6 or 7 turnovers in the second half that were just awful, unforced turnovers. And I dropped that video, a few days ago saying the Blazers are contenders if they fix one thing, and that is the turnovers. And oh my goodness, they had some absolutely horrific turnovers that made this game much tougher than it needed to be. It was that, and combined with 16-4 start for San Antonio. I mean, that's the two things that are really plaguing the Blazers right now. They're sloppy, unforced turnovers, and it's not just from moving the ball and just playing within the flow of things. It was just not Nasir Little throwing it to a ref, Josh Hart throwing it into the third row for no reason. Like, it was just baffling turnovers. Jerami Grant throwing it straight to a defender, leading him on a fast break. It was just baffling turnovers during this game, especially there in the second half, and the bad starts. Clean those up. I mean, this is a really good team, but tonight they showed you that they're not fully where they want to be. Something that I didn't like from this game was after those turnovers, they got super stagnant. It was like, okay, well, since we can't pass the ball to a teammate, we're just not going to pass the ball. But overall, as you said, I absolutely agree. You got to take care of bad teams. You got to win home games. They have a 6-2 road record. They've taken care of some good basketball teams, but you can't give back those games by losing to a team on the second night of a back-to-back that lost 6 of 7 when you finally get to your home court.
Got blown out last night.
Got blown out by the Golden State Warriors last night, which might have saved them for tonight. I wish that game was closer. Right. But, yeah, I mean, this was a game you absolutely needed to win, and thank goodness they won it, because it was going to be an extremely frustrating stream if they didn't win it. But that's why you got Jerami Grant, so he can have performances like that, because without a Jerami Grant, this Blazers team absolutely loses this game because they don't have anybody to carry them like Jerami Grant did in the first half. He has 93 points in the last 3 games, most ever in a 3-game stretch, and had some big moments, including that buzzer beater 3. And then Dame, I know he struggled shooting the ball, Eric, but that defensive block and then 3, I think was the turning point of this game there in the fourth quarter. What do you think about that stretch from him?
Absolutely, that was his defense. The block was the play of the game. But in the first half, Dame was playing like the most aggressive defense I've ever seen him play as in a Blazers uniform. He was shooting the gaps. He was getting through screens. He was pressuring up top like he was a defensive stopper. Like he was playing like that, like all out, get in someone's face, like play good defense. He still fell asleep a couple times, including in the second half. I think it was Keldon Johnson went backdoor, had a backdoor cut, and got a lay-in after as Dame fell asleep. But outside of that, Dame overall, like this is one of his best defensive games I've seen from him in years, and that it's kind of weird that it turned out to be one of our poorest defensive games of the season. But like, if he has that kind of effort from now on, I will excuse the type of mistakes he's making on the other end. He was terrible with the turnovers once again, and he's got to figure that out because it's just killing us. He's taken his drives too far. He's trying to get teammates involved, but he doesn't have the proper angles to pass, and he gets stuck in the air or under the baseline, and he's throwing it back across the court or places where he shouldn't be throwing it, and it's confusing to me. I don't know what's going on there. But other than that, like if he can play defense and make an impact there, it kind of excuses some of the play on offense.
Yeah, I mean, and he had 11 assists today, 4 turnovers, right? Like a couple of the turnovers were just like turnovers he probably shouldn't have had, like silly mistakes or, stuff that he can learn from, absolutely. But in a game where he has 11 assists, I would kind of expect him to have 3-4 turnovers. Generally, when you're passing the ball more, making plays more for others, then, that's the thing you're going to have. But he showed his impact today when he's not necessarily shooting the best, because he was 2 for 9, 8 for 20 from 3. His shot is a little bit off, but he had 11 assists. And he played defense, and he had a huge defensive stop and then made the 3 right after that. I had a feeling that he was going to shoot a 3 after he got that defensive stop and knock it down. You know what I mean? Like, throw back to the 2019 playoffs, first round. I think he let Westbrook shoot or something. I don't really remember exactly how close he was. But that play where Westbrook bricks the 3, and then he starts clapping and flexing to the bench, gets the ball, then hits the pull-up 3. Like, Dame, when he has defensive stops, it's always fun to see him turn that into offense. And that was a huge, tone setter. This San Antonio Spurs team was in that game. They're posting up Keita Bates-Diop on Dame. And Chauncey has played Dame on the bottom of the zone. And I think you can get away with it because Dame, if there's anything he's been good at his entire career, it's low post defense. And he showed on that play with some good low post defense and turn it into a 3. So that's the thing, though, is you got to make those types of plays if you're a good team going up against a team you should beat, and you've had a bad game the entire game. When it gets close, you can't fold like, oh my goodness, I can't believe we're, not up, or you can't worry about, your opponent, because it's still an NBA team, right? You just got to go out there, you got to make plays, you got to make things happen, you got to play both sides of the floor, and you got to ratchet up the intensity. And they did that. So that's the positive from this game. Because we've seen it in the past in previous years where Blazers have lost to teams they absolutely should not be, and it's like when it got close, it was almost a situation where I'm just speculating here, but it was almost a situation where they felt like, dang, we should be winning this game. We're not winning this game. We're not beating this team. And it almost became a situation where they would mentally fold in close games against teams that they should beat. We saw it last year. The Philadelphia 76ers game is like the perfect example, I think, for that early on last year where they didn't have Joel Embiid or Ben Simmons and Maxey went off, where the team kind of mentally folded down the stretch. You just got to step up and take on the challenge and make plays in the final 4 minutes of a game, no matter how ugly the rest of the game is. And that's what you got to do against bad teams. So they did that. I'm very happy about that. And then there's also a lot of stuff to learn from this game because this was maybe the worst game they played all year. I don't know. Maybe that's a little bit of an over-exaggeration, but the turnovers were terrible. Some of the defensive stuff that you said they were doing in the first half was terrible. They gave up 56 points. The bad start, the lack of ball movement there in the fourth quarter. Lots of stuff to learn.
Yeah, they do have to figure out the starter games, and man,
What do
they
you think
give
it is?
they give up three open threes right off the bat, and they had 9 points. And then, like you said, they had 16 points in the first 3 minutes, so they were on pace to score, um, what, 64 points that order or something. Um, yeah, so it was like crazy. Uh, didn't like that at all.
Why do you think they're starting games bad? Is it just like a lack of effort, lack of intensity, lack of focus? Like, what would you chalk it up to right now? Because it
It's
seems like it's a consistent theme.
well, when you play a defense that's predicated on confusion, the first couple plays they're not confused yet, right? So I think it's a case where as the game goes on, we're throwing different looks, the zone and man to man, and mixing it up really well. So as it goes on, they're like, oh crap, what defense are they going to be in? But at the beginning of games, they're just like running their, like it's kind of like in football where you have a lot of teams script their first, 15 plays on offense or something and know what they're going to do. So like a lot of teams, it's not quite that in depth like in football, but like they'll have a certain amount of set plays they're going to run at the beginning of a game, and it's generating open looks against our defense because the defense isn't confusing anyone yet, or they're not really like, oh crap, they're playing zone or whatever, because they're expecting us to come out at the beginning of the game in a zone or the first possession. Like we've been pretty predictable on how we're going to start games guarding teams.
Yeah, because we start in man usually.
Yeah, and then on offense, I feel like we're running decent plays, and we're getting like in this game there was a play really early on where we set, it was almost like a triple down screen for Dame, and he came off it, and there was no one within 10 feet of him, wide open 3-pointer, and he like hit back rim and missed it. It's like you can't drop a better play than that. Like we got our best shooter a completely wide open three. And so like I don't know, it's just like for some reason we're giving up baskets on the defensive end and not locking down from the beginning of games. And then on the offensive end, I feel like our game plans are good. We're moving the ball well. We just can't seem to make shots at the beginning of games until like we calm down a little bit, or someone like Jerami Grant today takes over and just starts hitting a few and keep it into it.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. What do you think the solution is then?
Um, I think the solution is, well, for one, I mean, this is going to be a problem if you don't stop anyone. But when we did have success at the beginning of games, we were pushing the tempo. So I don't know if that's going to be a solution if we're not stopping the other team from scoring and having to take the ball out of bounds.
Because they're not
But
playing with a ton of pace. Like I know
right,
it's felt like that at times this
yeah,
season, but where do they rank? Isn't it like 29th?
their pace right now,
Yeah.
it's fallen up to pretty low. It started off, I think we're like around 10th to 12th for the first like 6 or 7 games, and it's really slowed down. But some of that was injuries and stuff. We weren't as deep as we would be if we were all healthy. But
I also think a big part of that is Josh Hart not fully being himself
right,
offensively
yeah.
and not being as confident.
Well,
Like you can tell his confidence isn't the same.
that was the other thing. There were, like after the first few minutes, if you didn't know Josh Hart was in the game, like you wouldn't even have known he was playing. And sometimes that's okay, but there were a lot of times in this game where Dame or Ant would get to the middle and kick out to Hart, and once again he doesn't shoot the three, so we lose all our advantage from the penetration, and the defense recovers, and then you're stuck fighting the shot clock, and then Hart has to drive. And so I mean, at some point he's just got to start shooting the ball. Like if he's open, shoot the ball, or if you're gonna get to the rim, get to the freaking rim. You're a good finisher. I don't know why. I mean, he had some nice finishes in this game, I guess, but like overall he hasn't been as good as he's been in the past finishing the ball. So either he's got to start finishing better on the drives and not turning the ball over, or he's got to start shooting the threes even if he's missing them, because the defense just isn't going to stay honest as long as he's on the floor. So maybe that's I talked about this a few games ago with Winslow when he's in the game with Dame and Ant. Like, maybe the solution is to just have him be the facilitator and not have him be the spot up guy at all, and have him cut more to the basket so he's catching it going to the basket instead of spotting up for three and then hesitating where the defense can recover.
Yeah, just got to figure out something else and maybe start throwing in some wrinkles. Or maybe, I don't know. I don't want to demote anyone from the starting lineup, but there has to be a different start to games because the Blazers are essentially fighting back. And it's like, if they go on a run and tie the game, it's like, okay, cool, we came back and tied the game, but it should be, okay, cool, we're up 10, right? If they could just if you take out the start of the games, this team, I mean, shoot, might be undefeated. They probably lose the home game against Miami, but there's been so many games where the Blazers are just clawing from behind.
Well, we definitely would have lost the second Phoenix game in Phoenix.
Yeah, the second Phoenix game too. Yeah, so maybe that's over exaggeration, but you get my point. It's like they've had to have a lot of close wins where down the stretch they've had to make big plays and clutch plays, and they've done it, which is awesome, which is great, but it's just like, you guys are constantly having to fight from behind at the start of a game because you can't get off to good starts. You put out all this energy and you finally come back and it's like, okay, now it's tied, and then it's a battle for the rest of the game. I would love for them to just start better and build a lead at the, second quarter whenever they usually go on their runs, and then maybe win a game more comfortably, because they have not had any comfortable wins outside of the Nuggets game.
Yeah, and they since he missed the first half, so it was like 8-11 or 8-17 or something left in the first quarter, and Chauncey subbed out both Nurk and Ant, and Sharpe and Eubanks came in, and Sharpe and Grant just like took over there and kept us in this game. Sharpe had like 13 points in a very small amount of period in the first half. He was sensational.
Yes. I saw you had 10, man. What was he scoring off of? I need to go and watch the tape back. But I was basically like timeout in my rec league game, and like one of the guys there just checking on his phone, showing the box score. I saw Sharpe had 10 in like 7 minutes.
There was his first shot, I think, was so someone kicked out to Hart and he swung it to the corner to Sharpe, and he was wide open for a three. And then he had one where he drove to like the free throw line and took a step back and created like 5 foot of space from his defender and cashed like a 15-foot jumper. And then he had one where he he took it. I don't remember if it was at Poeltl or not, but he took it at one of the defenders and the guy went up to block him. And he just hung in the air and waited for the guy to come down, and then he just laid it in. And then he hit another three. Poeltl got switched on him, and he hit it like a step back three in isolation on the side. And then I'm trying to remember. That's 10 of his points, so he must have hit like another three that I'm missing.
Yeah. I mean, sounds like the way he scores. That play he had in the second half where he got blocked by Poeltl, he needs to learn how to just jump off one and go quick to the glass. Because it's like, or jump off one and like hang up high. Because it's like he slows himself down, taking the time to plant both his feet and go up. And at that point, it's like perfect timing for the shot blocker. So that is something he'll learn, like that little stuff. And that's where he'll start to fulfill some of that immense upside, is just learning what to do in certain situations. But I mean, yeah, he seemed like he was phenomenal to start off in this game, which is good to see. Just wish he did it in the second half. How much? He didn't even play much in the second half, though.
Yeah, he was kind of invisible in the second half, but yeah, I mean, credit to him for being ready to come in when we needed him. And I mean, maybe that's the solution too, is just subbing him in early for some energy. And if it does get bad, I mean, it's kind of weird to think of the Blazers team as needing a spark offensively at the beginning of games.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a funny feeling or thing to talk about, considering, the last decade of Blazers basketball. But yeah, maybe we just need some sort of spacing that he provides, because the defenses are, I mean, it's the last couple games, it's pretty clear that no one wants to get a Sharpe poster on them. And he's starting to get a reputation around the rim, and you can do some stuff to get him open, either for threes like we did in this game, or have him cut to the basket and draw those defenders so someone else is open. And so yeah, you gotta find a way to utilize that attention he's getting, as he gets a reputation for how good of a finisher he is.
Yep, absolutely. Here, I'll throw up the team stats while we thank some donos. Shout out to Caleb Pendergraft, $10 dono. What's up, Caleb? Thanks, man. Says, ugly win, but a win regardless. This game was frustrating enough for me at a point that I had to switch over to watch the Nets' untimely death at the hands of the Kings. Either way, go Blazers. Thank you, Caleb, for the $10 dono. I'm sorry this game was so rough on you, but at the start of the stream, you guys know how we have the bottom ticker. If you don't, then you apparently don't watch stream because we had it up like 30 seconds ago. But when I saw it go across the bottom ticker, 153, Eric.
Yeah.
What the hell is that?
And that was the second of the doubleheader on TNT tonight, too.
Wow.
So
153 in
the
regulation.
Kings finally get some love on national TV, and they deliver.
I'm looking forward to Around the NBA. We won't have standings or anything because I don't think Chris is doing graphics tonight. He did warn me, so we don't have player cards or graphics. So we'll just do this stream without it, but I just made the team stats and all that. But thank you, Caleb, for the $10 dono. 153. I'm looking forward to the scores segment. We'll have that because that's automated now. Shout out Michael V. $2 dono says, I'll take an ugly win and a warp showcase. Let's go. Thank you, Michael V. Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching the Sharpe highlight. Shout out Jordan Baker. Every time we win, he drops the GG sticker with the clapping hippopotamus. Thank you, Jordan. This is becoming a routine at this point. I'm looking forward to that part every post-game win. Thank you, Jordan. Shout out Rip City 208, $5 donation. Says, missed Winslow's defense in this Dallas game. Missed his facilitating for the bench tonight. Yeah, I mean, I think part of the last couple of games have showed, I guess, where he has a positive impact on this team. You know, I lament the fact that he can't make shots, but everything else is what you want from a guy. Sets the tone from an intensity standpoint. Like on the interior, just his strength is needed. Defensively, obviously, defending on the perimeter as well, and then just making that pass, making the right cut, playing in motion. You know, that's the thing. If he's out there and the offense got as stagnant as it did tonight, he's a liability. But as long as things are moving, he's less of a liability. So hopefully he's back soon, because it's always interesting to compare and contrast the way the team plays with and without specific players. Thank you, Rip City 208, for the $5 dono and bringing up Justice Winslow, because that's definitely somebody I wanted to talk about for a second tonight that I was probably going to forget, so appreciate it. Thank you, Carson Dunn, member for 7 months, says, a win's a win, love the jerseys, we need a PDX court. Eric, you've been campaigning for a PDX court. Why don't we have a PDX court? It's so perfect. The carpet as the paint, like, it's so easy.
You have the PDX as the center court logo instead of the pinwheel. Yeah, I don't know. Other than they're just cheap. It's like almost every other team has some sort of alternate court to match their city jerseys, but I guess we can't.
It'd be so cool. Dude, I'm sure they could get enough fans to, like, donate for a freaking court. It's not like it costs that much, man. Oh, I want a PDX court. I'm pissed that they don't have one. Hopefully they have one in the future. But, Chris should come up with a PDX court design. We'll show it off on stream. Chris, if you're listening, if you want to do that just for fun, because I know that's the type of thing I feel like you would enjoy, and we can like unveil it on stream, that would be pretty cool in the future to do. Because I'm sure you could come up with something that looks really, really clean. We need a PDX court. Shout out Brian Tadovich, $5 donation, says, does Nurk look slow to you guys? Poeltl killed him tonight. Rough win, but it's a win. Brian, we're going to answer that after I think the last dono, because we need to talk about Yusuf Nurkic. A lot of people talking about Yusuf Nurkic. A lot of people, I think, are overreacting to what was a terrible game for Nurk, but maybe not terrible. I didn't watch the first half. He did seem a step slow, but he's coming off an injury. We're going to talk about that in a second. Thank you, Brian, for the $5 donation. And then shout out Michael V, $2 donation, says, every dub, I got to give 2 dubs to the MVP. I forgot Jerami. All right, Jerami and Warp for Michael V. Thank you, Michael, for the $2 dono. Let's talk Nurkic.
Yeah, I mean, outside of a 3-play stretch in the third quarter, he was absolutely terrible in this game. Yeah, I mean, people are going to look at Poeltl's overall numbers and think that's all Nurk when it's more a product of our defensive scheme. But for the first time this season, Nurk got beat in like isolation at the top of the key against a big man getting to the basket. And Poeltl had at least 3 drives on him where, I mean, Nurk's just got to win those matchups defensively. If he's got the other big man on him isolated, he shouldn't be getting drove into the hoop and fit it, like not contesting those finishes. So yeah, just really bad defensive effort from him on Poeltl. I thought his help defense on other players was fairly solid in this game. But yeah, unfortunately for him, it was a really bad game. Like I said, he got pulled less than 4 minutes into the first quarter. Yeah, just rough. But yeah, he did look like he was moving a little slow, and you have to keep in mind with that hip injury, when you have an adductor strain or whatever they clarified it as, you can't really do much conditioning, and we know that conditioning is a problem for Nurk. So yeah, he's just been resting and needs to get back into rhythm. But it's not something where you can run and be your normal self while you're injured trying to rest an adductor injury.
Believe it or not, chat, and this isn't at the whole chat. This is just at some people that I've seen in chat and some people I've seen on Twitter, all right? This is to those guys, all right? Guess what? Every time somebody has a terrible game, you don't have to trade them. I know that's shocking, but just because Yusuf Nurkic has a terrible game doesn't mean you have to trade him. Like, he's been good defensively all season long. He's been a big part of the Blazers being good defensively all season long. He's played the zone great for a big man, which is really hard to because of defensive 3 in the key. How many defensive 3 in the keys has he gotten? How many times has he been in foul trouble this year? Like, legitimate foul trouble. Okay? Defensively, he's been really good. Offensively, he's been inconsistent, right? Okay, well, you know he's inconsistent offensively. He's always been inconsistent offensively. Defensively, he's been good. Tonight, defensively, he was bad. But it's his first game back from a freaking injury. Like, as you said, man, with that sort of strain, you know, he hasn't played in a while, hasn't been able to condition in a while. He's been resting that injury. So you would expect him to be a step slow coming back. So he comes back, he's a step slow, like, okay. But some people out there is like, see, this proves that the Blazers have to trade him, and he's going to kill us in the playoffs, and he's this. They're coming away with all these conclusions because it's his first game back off an injury he just had to rest, when he's been fine. He's been good defensively all season long. I just don't understand that. Like, yes, he played terrible today, but no, that doesn't mean that he sucks and you have to trade him and he's going to kill a team in the playoffs and he's terrible in all these conclusions that people are trying to come to. I think it's more so people just trying to confirm their own biases, but it's frustrating, man. It's his first game back off an injury. You could sit here and say he played terrible. I agree. You said it. I'll say it. He played terrible. All right? Doesn't mean we have to come to all these conclusions because of one game, his first game back off an injury.
Well, to make matters worse, so he had this play where he kind of thought he got fouled by Poeltl, misses the layup short. It kind of got rim checked. Comes right back to him. Poeltl had like fallen out of the play, so he's wide open. All he has to do is lay it in or dunk it, and he misses like the easiest shot he had all night.
Yeah.
And it's like, that was like a minute or two into the game, and I was like, oh my God, like this is, no one's ever going to let him live that one down. Yeah. So he did a little bit better job of finishing in the second half. I mean, we know what he's good at, and there are 2 things that are absolutely elite skills that you need to have in a big man, and one of them is screen setting, and one of them is rebounding. We've talked about it several other times, and yeah, but I mean, look, there were some possessions when our second unit came in. They were playing much better defense, but they couldn't grab a rebound, and it led to there was one possession where they got, I think, 3 or 4 offensive rebounds and led to an open three. So yeah, just it's a case where, I mean, he's not perfect, but I mean, I don't know what people expect. I mean, yeah, it'd be nice to have like someone who was a little more agile, but for his size, he's fairly agile. I just like you said, I don't get why every time he has a bad game, it outweighs anything good he ever does, and you have to trade him, and you can't do anything with him.
The other thing that pisses me off right now, Eric, I am watching back all of Jakob Poeltl's shot attempts. All right, I'm on. I've already watched 8 shot attempts. There is legitimately only one play so far that you can say, okay, Nurk got to play better defense there, right? And we're already up to 17 of his points. But people will just look strictly at the matchup. It's called box score watching. People will just look strictly at the matchup and say, Poeltl had 31? Oh, Nurk, you suck, right? Like, criticize him for things he's doing wrong, not because another guy has 31, because a lot of times it's like, okay, if Nurkic contests a floater from 13 feet and almost blocks it and he makes it, I mean, what else, like, do you want? You know what I mean? Like, you can't fault Nurkic for that. That's good defense. Sometimes guys make shots on good defense. The only shot that I've seen, I'm in 9 minutes left in the third quarter, just watching back all these steps, the only play that I've seen where it was like, okay, Nurk got to play better defense was that drive that Poeltl had at the start of the quarter. And I think there was one later on. I'm still going through. But if you want to have a legitimate point talking about somebody playing bad or this or that, like, you gotta point out, like, specific things, not just, oh, well, his matchup had 31 points, because a lot of times it's like, okay, what if Nurkic goes and helps because somebody made a mistake, and he forces that player to miss, but then Poeltl has nobody on him because Nurkic rotated to help, and he gets a tip in, right? Like, that's the most recent play I just watched was that exact situation. It was the play where, like, Grant got chucked to the side and almost fell, and so that's the thing, is people gotta be better. People gotta be better. But yeah, he played a terrible game. Step slow. Didn't look good in there in the second half. I've been watching a little bit of tape during the stream back on the first half. I mean, but it's his first game back from an injury, so people just need to relax.
Well, I mean, it's funny because you can watch the second half was a little different. Nurk, like I said, did get beat several times in a one-on-one matchup with him. But the first half, I don't know how many times you have to notice this if you're a fan, but it's not Nurk guarding Poeltl. It's Anfernee Simons or Damian Lillard or Josh Hart or someone, and he's catching the ball around the basket, and he can easily turn the ball and and score over those guys while Nurk is guarding like Trey Jones or someone up top because they switched on the pick and roll. So, I mean, those kind of situations are what you're referring to. But, I mean, to say that, like Charlie says in chat, Nurk has only had 2, maybe 3 good games all year. He's averaging a career high in rebounds, 11 rebounds a game going into
That doesn't matter, though.
But that doesn't matter. We're 10-4. That doesn't matter.
This defense doesn't matter, especially if he, Jokic has 8 points, but, Jokic just didn't want to shoot. But Poeltl has 31, bad on Nurkic, right?
By pretty much every analytical measure of defense, I know there's context to it, but Nurk is either our first or second best defender on a team that was heading into the season in need of more defense than offense. I'm not trying to defend Nurk's game tonight. It's just dumb. Like we can't even trade him till December 15th anyway. So what's the point?
I know.
Like whining about how we need to upgrade and do all this stuff right now.
Yeah. I mean, but here's the guys. It's like it's not even hard All you have to do is go to NBA.com, click on a box score, and you can watch like footage of specific stats. Like if a player has 5 steals, you can click on that steals number for them, and you can watch their 5 steals. Right? I went to NBA.com, box score, went to field goal attempts for Jakob Poeltl, clicked on that number. I could watch them all through in succession in like a minute and a half. And if it's a situation where like I'm watching this through and okay, there's 5, 6 possessions, 7, 8 possessions where it's Nurkic playing terrible D. Okay, I'd sit here and say Nurkic played awful defense on him tonight, right? But that's the thing is it's like you got to talk about what actually happened, not just look at the box score and say, oh, well, Poeltl had 31, so Nurkic obviously was terrible defensively. And I'm not sitting here trying to say he had a good game. He had a bad game. I'm just saying this because I see too many people do this, and here we like to break things down in depth and like analyze things better than you see, out there on Twitter or wherever else you see analysis. So that's my whole point. That's my whole ramble. I've only watched half of these shots so far, so I'll watch the other half when, Eric, if you want to touch on anything else, and I'll see the complete game from Poeltl. But he was awesome tonight, and Poeltl's one of the most underrated big men in the league. He's nice. Mm-hmm. He's nice. Career high obviously ain't good, but it's multiple things. Anyway, I'm going to give Nurkic a break first game back from injury. All right? That's where I'm at with that.
Dude, you guys are so freaking annoying in chat, man. Like, Nurkic was terrible tonight. We've said that a million times. Like, what more do you want us to say? But, like, not every player is complete trash or completely goated. They're not either the best player in the league or the worst player in the league. Like, shut the frick up, man. It's so freaking annoying. There's no nuance to some of you guys' conversation or discussion. It's either this player is trash and never does anything right, or he's the best player ever. And he's the MVP, man. It's just like so freaking stupid. Like, have some nuance to your discussions. It's freaking annoying. It's like, and you guys come in here and say like, oh, they're gonna defend Nurk all day. Like, we didn't freaking defend him. Like, we said he was terrible tonight. Like,
we're just discussing nuance here, right? Like, I'm discussing what is happening on the floor. You guys just want to sit here and say, I don't know. Like, it's just frustrating. We challenge you guys to analyze the game better. I will tell you guys, like, where to find certain stats. I know I need to get a little bit better about finding advanced analytics and whatnot, but, like, I will tell you guys where to find certain stats. I just told you guys how you can watch specific plays. Easy. Like, I will challenge you guys to analyze the game better. But, okay, you can come in here and, like, spit your takes, like, Nurkic sucks, needs to be traded, this and that. Like, a lot of times we just sit here and ignore it, all right? But then don't sit here and say, see, these guys always defend Nurk or, like, whatever, and start, like, coming after our analysis, because our analysis is actually based on something that actually happened, not just, oh, Nurk sucks and blah, 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 blah. We need to trade him. We can't even trade him. Like, have a nuanced discussion. As Eric said, I absolutely agree. Like, yeah, there's a lot of plays in this game, so it's hard to discuss an entire game at once. But, I mean, I'm not even speaking to anybody directly in chat, Eric. I saw this on Twitter a little bit, but it's like, I know that this is what people do. People will look at the opposing center, and if they have a good game, they automatically blame Nurkic. And they don't see, okay, how did they get their points? So that's what I'm challenging people to do. You can easily do that. If you watch the whole game, you miss a lot of things during games. It's hard to watch everything. You can easily go back and quickly rewatch specific plays to get a feel for, okay, Poeltl got these points in this way because of these reasons. And then base your argument off that. Don't sit here saying, oh, they're just defending him. Like, let's discuss the basketball. That's where I'm at.
There's a reason he only played 15 minutes tonight, Tori. Yeah, no crap, because he was terrible, and he was a game-time decision coming into the game. He was questionable to even play with the injury. That if he doesn't play tonight, like, we don't even talk about him. So it was just dumb. Like, he was coming back from an injury, and he wasn't looking good out there, and he was terrible. So coach benched him. And that's what happens. Like, what is wrong with that? You have him for the good games. You play him 28, 30 minutes when he's playing good. You take him out and let him play 15 minutes. And if he's not going to be better, then just play him that much. Like, what is that?
I just don't understand
about that. Like,
I don't understand why it has to be so like the opinions on him have to be so volatile. It doesn't make sense to me. It's not like that with any other player. If Justice Winslow comes back from injury and struggles and looks a step slow and shoots, 3 for 10 and a wing has 30 points that he guards at times, like, and he, maybe is a step slow defensively, I feel like a lot of the people that will just say, we got to get rid of Nurkic for that, will say, oh, well, they'll be logical. They'll be like, okay, it's his first game back off injury, right? You know what I mean? Anyway,
he's only averaging 7.7 points per game the last 3 games. That's because we have 3 players averaging over 20 points per game. Like,
Nurkic doesn't need to score. Like, Nurkic needs to finish Nurkic needs to finish the opportunities he gets. He needs to not turn the ball over and needs to try and make the right pass. If he can feed somebody that has it going, like, cool, that's great. In the end, he just needs to set good screens. He needs to rebound. He needs to finish the opportunities he gets, right? Like that. And if he provides more on top of that, maybe somebody's struggling. He's had a couple games where he's stepped up when other people were struggling and had big games. You know what I mean? So that's fine. Like, okay, cool. That's exactly what you want from your 4th best player and your big man. Like, and at times, he doesn't have to be the 4th best player because you'll have Sharpe who will step up. You'll have Nas who will step up if he gets the minutes. Nas we can talk about in a second. But, Josh Hart has stepped up for a couple games. The Pelicans game, they didn't have Nurkic for that, but opening night, Josh Hart had a 20-point. Hopefully he starts playing better. But that's the thing, is it's just like good teams, they don't rely, unless they have a Jokic or Embiid or a Bam Adebayo, they don't rely on their center consistently. Like, Kevon Looney, what does he do for the Warriors? He sets screens, he rolls, he dunks when he gets the opportunity, finishes when he gets the opportunity, and plays defense. So that's what I expect out of Nurk. Anything else is just gravy. And that's the thing, is it's not a situation where, oh, well, we have Dame and CJ and nothing else, so Nurk has to be that 3rd guy. Now he's the 4th guy. We got a superstar and 1, maybe 2 all-star caliber players. Jerami Grant right now is an all-star caliber player. Anfernee Simons, we know he can be an all-star caliber player, right? And he's been a little bit shaky to start the season shooting the ball, but he has that talent. Those are your guys. So I don't care if Nurkic is scoring 7 points per game. I care if he's rebounding and setting good screens for Dame and Ant so those guys can get going and just doing the little things. That's what I care about from him.
Yeah, and there was a stretch. People wonder why we're still intrigued by Nurkic's ability. And there was a stretch in the 3rd quarter. He sets an off-ball screen for Ant. Ant gets a wide-open 3 that he cashes, and Ant hadn't been shooting well that game so far. So getting your off-ball guard a wide-open screen. Then we post up Nurk the next play. He draws a double team, kicks it to the corner for a wide-open Jerami Grant 3. And then next play, he posts up, gets an and 1 because he took it strong to the basket and finishes on Poeltl. Next play, he gets the ball at the top of the key. Grant goes backdoor. He throws a nice pass. Grant gets fouled on the catch, so he doesn't get to the line. But, like, those are plays that, Kevon Looney aren't making in the game. Drew Eubanks isn't making those games. And we'll talk about Drew. He's been great in his role this year, Drew has. We have a decent backup center, but those type of plays aren't really made by a lot of centers. You can't just post up Kevon Looney and let him make plays for your team. That's not the type of big he is. So it's a weird thing to say he would fit better on this team.
Yeah, I was muted when I said it, but Drew Eubanks has been good, man. He's been better than I thought. Okay, cool. So he's having a good game. Okay, so you play him instead of Nurkic. Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome. We have a backup center who had a good game today. Perfect. And the thing is you can't go Eubanks against a small lineup after he's played 30 minutes. We saw that against Dallas, but in this sort of situation against Poeltl, where he's not absolutely gassed at the end of the game, okay, you play him at the end of the game. Because he's finished, and he had a big and 1 to help the Blazers get back from a 6-point deficit to tie it up, knock down the free throw, gave him the lead. But that's the thing, is Eubanks will play well. Eubanks actually played 33 minutes again tonight, but Poeltl's a much easier matchup for him. Eubanks will play well, so then he will end the game, and it's like a knock on Nurkic. No, that's fine. I don't understand. It's not like Nurkic is this star that, we can't have him in at the end of the game, and he's supposed to be our second best player, so we're screwed. No, it's we have a lot of good talent, and if our backup center's having a better game, okay, you play him over Nurkic. I don't really understand what the problem is with that. And a lot of good teams go small to end games anyway. The Warriors have done it with years. With Draymond going to the 5, they subbed out Bogut or whoever. You know what I mean? And if they're going up against a good center, then they wouldn't go small. But that's the thing, is like some Blazer fans need to... like, they're not used to having a good basketball team, Eric. Because it's like, oh, well, we need this from Nurk and CJ and Dame, and if we don't get that, we're screwed. That's how it's been. By the way, if you're insulting people in chat, I don't know who's on which side of any argument. I don't care. Don't insult people in chat. I've seen two of you going at each other. You two know who you are. You guys need to relax, all right? Or we're just going to put you in 5-minute timeouts. Mods, if people keep insulting people, give them a warning. Like, type out a warning. And then if they keep doing it, 5-minute ban. Okay? I need help from mods. I need that from you guys. But it's like Blazer fans aren't used to having like enough quality players on the team where it's like, okay, well, we don't have to play Nurkic because we got this guy who's playing well. And it's a guy who I wasn't expecting to be talking about like that. With Drew Eubanks, I was kind of down on him being the backup center going into the season, but okay, he's having a good game. Okay, you can play him. Okay, Justice Winslow is really helping us move the ball, and he's cutting well, and he's playing good defense. Okay, you can play him, right, over a Josh Hart. Like, shoot, I mean, we have enough talent on this team, like, especially Sharpe gets better, where it's like, okay, Anfernee's having a bad game shooting the ball. Maybe you don't finish with him. You know what I mean? If you have Sharpe going off and Gary Payton II, once he's back, he's locking up defensively, you have options. You have options. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. There's a reason this team is 10-4. And it's almost, people just aren't used to that. So it's a good thing, not a bad thing. I don't understand why people try to make it out to be a bad thing.
Yep. And just for the record, as good as Drew played tonight, Poeltl scored the same amount of times and the same exact ways as he did when Nurk was in the game. Both of them had trouble guarding Poeltl. So, like I said, it was more our scheme, not our centers. We switch too much. We give into the switch way too easy. And, So, but Eubanks did... he had a great game, man. It was good to see. He had several good finishes around the basket as well. And, really played well in his role tonight, and was a big reason why we came out on top.
Yep. I'm still just looking back through this clip. So 75-67, they ran a Trey Jones Poeltl pick and roll, and Ant went under and looked like he was going to get in front, but then Jones hesitated and Ant stopped and didn't get in front, and then Jones drived and Nurkic had to help over, so then he had an easy pass to Poeltl for a dunk. You know what I mean? It's like that's on Ant for not getting back in front of his guy and making Nurkic have to stay there to help him out with the pick and roll defense, and then Poeltl's able to get deep enough that he just gets a pass, doesn't even have to put the ball on the floor, and dunks it. So that's the thing, is like defense is such a connectivity thing that you have to cover for other guys. And if other guys aren't doing their job and your guy scores because you're covering for them, that's not necessarily your fault. So that's my whole thing with the whole box score thing. I just wanted to rant about that because it's something that has frustrated me in the past. But let me thank a couple donos because they relate to this conversation. Then we'll wrap up this conversation and talk about Nas or something else. We'll get off the team stats. Actually, we should talk about the team stats after these donos. I forgot that I was on the team stats the whole time and we haven't even talked about it. Pasty Zach, $10 dono. Or no, it was before that. Shout out to BC with the $5 donation. Says, I listened to Blazers Uprise and Rip City Radio with Chad at the same time. One in my earbud, the other on the laptop. I love you guys. I love Rip City. Thank you, BC, with the $5 dono. That's who I used to listen to before we started doing post-game shows. So can't go wrong with both. Shout out Pasty Zach, $10 donation. Says, the thing that irritates me about these people wanting to trade Nurk or anyone, they just don't understand what he brings off the court. This team has the best chemistry we've had, and Nurkic is a big part. I mean, this seems like a good collection of guys that have grown together, you know? It seems like we have a good culture, and every one of these guys is a part of it. So, Nurkic has seemed like the type of guy who teammates like. Other NBA players don't like to play against him, but teammates like him. That matters. Culture matters. So thank you, Pasty Zach, for the $10 donation. Shout out Gavin Klump, $5 donation. Says, would watch Eric rant about this for an hour straight. An hour straight, Eric. You got an hour straight? How long have we going on this rant? Probably 20 minutes. 30 minutes. I don't know. But yeah. Anyway, I'm not gonna pay attention to chat about. I'm just gonna ignore the BS because we could fight this for 3 hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
Gavin says he wants, you could watch you rant for an hour. We could go for 4 hours, but yeah, no, it's yeah. Thank you, Gavin Clump, for the $5 dono. Shout out Dro, $2 dono, says people got to get off my man Nurkic's back. All right, back. I'm not gonna say what you actually said. Shout out Dro, $2 dono. Shout out Ryan Wilcox with the $5 dono. It's a Karate Fox. Karate Fox, thank you for the Karate Fox, Ryan Wilcox. Shout out Mike, not going to say that last name and get that clipped, with the $20 dono, says, carpet jerseys are too OP. Thank you, Mike, for the $20 dono. Appreciate the love there, man. And yeah, the carpet jerseys are clean. I like them. I just wish they had a court to go with them.
Yeah, I liked them too. I was a little disappointed that you couldn't really tell it was the carpet on the big stripe across the front. Mm-hmm. But yeah, other than that, I did like him.
Yep, and then shout out Carter with a $2 donation, says, just ordered a Wear Me PDX jersey 78 and 4, baby. Thank you, Carter, for the $2 dono, and definitely send in a pic with that jersey. Need to get tweets of the game back and running, but that's the type of stuff we would love to put on tweets of the game. Anyway, Eric, it's time to just hide them. Yeah. And because that's not true and that's BS. Yep.
Charlie's now resorted to lying, flat out lying.
Yep. No, that's the lie. Like, they're, I'm sure he's the person that had that clip of you getting excited at the buzzer beater and was like trying to talk trash on Twitter. It's just weird. But anyway, yeah, let's move on and talk about this win to get Corey Jez on Blazers Uprise. Corey would be cool to talk to. What about the stats, Eric? Blazers shoot the hell out of the ball 47%. 41 for 79 from the field. Points in the paint, 66 for the Spurs. The Blazers haven't really got outscored in the paint like this all season long. 66 for the Spurs, 46 for the Blazers. But the Blazers make it up behind the three-point line. Also get to the free throw line 9 times more, make 7 more free throws. They were 20 for 26. The Spurs were 13 for 17. Anything else stand out?
I mean, they had, I think at halftime it was either 20 or 21 of their 23 baskets were assisted on. They were moving the ball really well. But this is another fortunate thing for us in this game is that they did commit a lot of bad pass turnovers as well. Unfortunately, it didn't lead to a lot of fast breaks for us because they were mostly thrown out of bounds. But they did have a lot of sloppy passes too. Yeah. And then the 66 points in the paint, man, they just dominated in the paint in this game.
Yeah, the turnovers are a problem, man. I mean, that was probably the worst stretch of turnovers they had in the third quarter, and I believe they had one early in the fourth as well, where it was just like, what in the world are you guys doing? Mm-hmm. Like, Nas's pass to who? Was he trying to pass to Popovich, the ref, a fan? Josh Hart bringing the ball up against, like, token pressure, like, dribbles into the half-court corner, realizes where he's dribbling to and how he could get trapped along the sideline, like, panics and jump passes the ball to the fifth row. It's just stuff that doesn't make any sense, man. These turnovers, they gotta clean them up. Gotta do better. 17. But the Spurs, bad team, 19 turnovers for them. I just wish this team could take care of the freaking ball because it's extremely frustrating. Like, there was a stretch in this game where I was pulling my hair out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was. I think we had 5 turnovers at halftime, so 12 in the first half or in the second half. That's terrible, and shouldn't have happened.
Absolutely. Anyway, let's talk about. I don't know. We just gotta go through things here since we don't have player cards, or maybe we'll have player cards. I don't know. Oh, Krish went to the game. Okay. Yeah, no player cards. But who do you want to talk about next? Let's talk about individual players, kind of how they did tonight. Grant, we haven't talked a ton about him. I mean, he was phenomenal, Eric. 29 points, 9 for 15 from the field, 6 for 8 from 3, 8 boards. 8 boards for him. along with his 29 points.
Yeah, I mean, he is shooting lights out from three. What was his 3-pointers tonight?
6 for 8.
6
and I
for
will
8.
add that to his stats and see what
Wow.
he's shooting after this game, because it might be 50%.
Yeah, I think it was like 44, 46%, if I'm not mistaken, going into this game. So, yeah, I mean, he's been a sniper. And I mean, what are teams supposed to do if they can't leave Ant or Dame? So I don't see this like changing or not. I mean, he's maybe not going to shoot close to 50%, but closer to 40% or a little higher is not completely unreasonable for how good a looks he seems to be getting. And yeah, so I really love the way he's been playing this year, and didn't think we'd need him to be quite the scoring option he's been, but he's definitely stepped up when we've needed to, when the guards can't get shots, and he can get a shot off pretty much out of anywhere. So it's nice to have that option out of a forward who can break people down off the dribble or hit the three at a super high rate. Just been awesome this season.
Yeah, he's shooting 49.2% from three, 35 for 71. I think he shoots really well off inside-out passes, and the Blazers are getting him a lot of those. That's the positives of a drive and kick offense that the Blazers are running, is instead of like he has to run off a screen to get his shot, or he's catching a shot from the side and has to turn into a shot, he can already be square to the hoop before he gets the pass, already have the hoop in his vision, and can already have his feet set. And we know, like, when he's set, he just doesn't even dip. He just brings the ball straight up. And he can already be set if he can face the rim and get a pass from the paint. And he's gotten a lot of those. I think that's why he's shooting the three ball so well. I think that's a part of it compared to, last couple of years in Detroit, he's shooting a lot off the dribble. And then in OKC and Denver, I don't think he got this many quality, like, inside-out passes where the defense was drawn quite like this. So, yeah, obviously he's not going to shoot 49% on the season. If he does, then he's maybe an all-NBA guy. But after his game, 21.3 points per game. Probably around 5 rebounds now, which is better than the last 3 years. He was 4.7 going into this game, had 8 tonight. And he's been efficient from both 2 and 3. Over 50% from 2, which is better than the past couple years. He is an all-star caliber player right now, Eric, because he's also good defensively. We talk a lot about how he struggles with screen navigation. Everything else is everything else is good defensively. He is a true two-way all-star caliber player at the forward position, which the Blazers have needed for so long. At this point, Eric, if the Blazers keep a 1 or a 2 or a 3 seed, I don't see how you keep him out of the All-Star game.
Yeah, I mean, still 2.5 months to go until that's determined. Almost 3 months, actually, till the voting, like the reserve voting happens. So still a lot of basketball to be played, but if the Blazers are a top seed and he's averaging 20 points and has completely transformed this team, I think it's a lot more likely that he's our second All-Star than Ant, simply because of the position at front court. There's a lot more spots and not as good of automatic All-Stars like there are in the guards in the West. So yeah, I think it's got a shot.
Check this out. Like, if you start comparing to other guys in the West, right? Like, there's backcourt and frontcourt players when it comes to All-Star voting. Karl-Anthony Towns is a name I was curious about because he hasn't been, like, scoring at the same rate. Jerami Grant is scoring at the same rate on the same efficiency as Karl-Anthony Towns. Mm-hmm. Now, Towns is 5 assists, right? But Grant is much better defensively. Like, Grant statistically has been as impressive, if not more impressive, than Karl-Anthony Towns, and Karl-Anthony Towns is on a losing team. Jerami Grant is on the number 1 team in the West right now. So that might be a fun debate later this season. We haven't been able to have debates like that because it's like, obviously, speaking of Cap, by the way, it's his birthday today. Happy birthday. He's 27 years old. Basketball Reference is saying happy birthday in his born like birthday section. But anyway, we could have that debate because it's always been Dame should be an all-star, and then everything else is like, it's not going to be CJ or anyone else, so whatever. We could have some fun debates around all-star time, I think, with Jerami Grant versus some other guys in the West.
Yeah. Be awesome.
Anyway, shout out to Carter with a $5 donation. Says, you guys should do a way too early All-Star prediction. I think it'd be a fun thing to look back at. Maybe that would be something for the second channel, Blazers Uprise Live. If you guys aren't subscribed, definitely go check it out. Link in the description box below. We do streams Mondays and Thursdays, and I upload the video versions of our Believe in Blazers podcast. Next week, it'll be Monday and Wednesday, because Thursday is Thanksgiving. But yeah, that could be something fun at some point. Maybe in a couple weeks. Let a couple more weeks of the season play out. But anyway, what's next?
Fan voting doesn't matter, but for anything other than the starters, and we know Blazers aren't going to have a starter in that. So it just matters what the coaches decide.
Yep. Anyway, dude, chat is wildin' tonight, Eric.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I don't know. Where's the mods at? We got Trevin in here. Is Trevin the only mod? Wait, I haven't even seen Trevin say anything in a while. Are we a modless chat that's going off the rails right now, Eric?
Pretty much. I don't know.
Okay, I'm gonna go to our mod chat, and I'm going to say in all caps, "Help!" with 3 exclamation points. Let's see who comes and saves the day.
There's been a couple people who say, like, can you talk about Hart's reluctance to shoot? We did talk about that earlier for anyone who wants to know. But Eric Rivera says, you guys say Josh Hart needs to attack and do this or that, but do you realize the other team is paid to stop them too? Well, our point is, so what happens is Dame drives down the middle of the paint. Defense collapse. Dame kicks out to Josh Hart. Normally, most people, Jerami Grant, Shaedon Sharpe, Ant, those type of players will immediately shoot the ball if they're wide open and shoot it. So it's not anything that Josh Hart would be stopped doing. This is actually stuff that's happening within the game. They're kicking out to him. He's afraid to shoot the ball or doesn't want to shoot it. And the defense then closes out on him, and we don't have the advantage anymore. So that's what I'm saying. Like, he needs to just shoot those. I mean, even if he's only shooting 33% on them, if
he's shooting 33% because he's not shooting with confidence.
If he goes a whole season of shooting 33% on mostly wide open threes, like, maybe we have to use him differently, or like I said earlier, maybe he should be cutting in those situations instead of staying at the 3-point line. But if he's hitting, 1 out of every 3 of those, that's still enough, in my opinion, to keep the defense honest on him to where they're not just going to stop closing out on him. So I think he needs to just let it fly a little bit more. It's not even like he should be shooting 10 threes a game or anything like that. It's just like a couple instances every game where he just needs to keep the defense honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's like, he doesn't need to score to still be a good player. I mean, you look at his stat line tonight. He had 6 points, but 3 for 4 from the field. Didn't attempt a single 3 in his 34 minutes, but 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals. One of those steals being a play there in crunch time where he had a great defensive possession and then picked up the ball and had that dunk. That play reminded me of Wesley Matthews. The way he stole that ball, the way he poked at that ball. Like, that was a huge defensive play in this game that Josh Hart came up with, and then, converted into a dunk, right? Yeah. Dame had a huge defensive play. Josh Hart had a huge defensive play. So that's the thing, is it's not, like, when we sit here and we complain about him not being aggressive enough offensively, or we sit here and say, like, his feel for the game seems off, or, like, he doesn't seem fully confident in his shot, or that type of stuff, like, yeah, those are negatives. But it doesn't mean that we think that he is not a good player or not playing well necessarily. It's just certain aspects that, he's capable of shooting the ball. I wish he'd shoot a couple more times. But everything else he's doing, we don't talk about his rebounding much because he's going to go out there and get you 7, 8, 9 rebounds a game. Mm-hmm. He's going to rebound the ball with the best of them at the small forward position, right? And then he's going to go out there and he's going to facilitate and generally, he's had a couple bad games this season, but generally he's a pretty good defender. So, he's pretty consistent in those regards, so we don't talk about it a whole lot because it's that's just what you expect from him. But that's what makes him a really good role player.
Yep, absolutely. And I don't think he's necessarily doing anything wrong. I mean, like, I understand the thought process. You're not making your threes at a high rate. Like, oh, I'm going to drive. I've been a good finisher in the past, and I can pass the ball well on those drives. It just hasn't seemed to go well for him this year so far. But where he's at his best is grabbing those rebounds and taking it the length of the floor. And if it's not there, turning around and kicking it back to Dame or Ant, who's coming up the court, who's probably unguarded because he drew all the defense going to the rack. And so that's something that I'd like to see more of. But as someone mentioned in chat a few minutes ago, there is like a decided mark when he got that concussion. So maybe it's just like still a little foggy from that or something. I don't know. But
if he's still foggy from that, should he be playing?
Probably not, but yeah.
Because it was like he played the rest of the game where he got that concussion, and I said in the postgame show, I was like, it seemed like there was this play where he fell and just hit his head hard as hell on the floor, and he got back up and played, but I thought he hit his head on the floor. If you remember that conversation. And then it came out, oh, he did hit his head on the floor. He has a concussion, but he played the rest of the game. So I hope they are... obviously in basketball, you're not in as much risk for, like, concussing yourself or that sort of thing shortly afterwards like you are in football, right? Like, football's more dangerous in that regard. But still, you probably shouldn't be playing him if he's still foggy from a concussion, so... That's how I feel about that. But otherwise, like, he's been fine, man. Like, he needs to shoot more, but... I don't think he's, like, hurting the team or anything like some people will say. I just think he could do a little bit job keeping the team more honest. But he got Ant a 3 today where he just, like, got the ball, got a board, I think. I don't know if it was off a board or off an outlet, but just pushed the ball, dribbled it into the middle of the paint, collapsed the defense in transition, and just kicked out to Ant, and he could walk into a wide-open 3. Mm-hmm. Josh Hart gets great shots for Dame and Ant. It's just like when he's off the ball, it would be nice for him to be a little bit more of a threat.
Yeah, that's why I was saying maybe just utilize him more as the facilitator on offense instead of that kick-out guy.
Yeah. I mean, you can, but that's the thing is, like, you can get creative with how you utilize Josh Hart. Like, in the past, right? This is how we know we're a good team, right? It's like, dang, I wish Josh Hart just shot the ball more to keep defenses honest. 3-4 years ago, were we saying that about Evan Turner or Maurice Harkless or Al-Farouq Aminu? Like, wow, I wish they shot the ball more starting forwards. Or, forward off the bench. How often did we ask for our forwards to shoot more?
Well, I mean, they did shoot when they got the ball.
I know, but even if they did it, would anybody have been saying, Mo Harkless, could you shoot the ball more? Or Al-Farouq Aminu, could you shoot the ball more? Yeah. It was mostly like, wow, I wish these guys just cut because I can't stand how inconsistent or bad they are shooting the ball in, like, Evan Turner's case, and people always lamented, like, Al-Farouq Aminu not being able to hit enough threes to keep defenses honest, or I don't know, like, but nobody really, like, if people were asking Hart to shoot more, I don't remember that in the past, even when there was games where, like, Aminu would pass up threes or Harkless would pass up threes, like, I don't really remember that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I mean, it's a situation where it's like, dang, you're capable of making threes. You should shoot more threes. Everything else you do is awesome. You can pass, dribble, like, push the pace, get shots for guys, rebound really well, play defense. And then our other forwards playing like a freaking all-star. So it's different.
Yep.
And this team is different.
Absolutely.
So, who do you want to talk about next? Maybe Ants. Let's talk about Ants. I saw a comment.
Talk about Ant,
yeah, I saw a comment from Pineapple's channel member. What's up, Pineapple? Says, I saw people on Twitter starting to treat Ant like Nurkic, saying Ant is missing so many shots when at the moment he was 3 for 5 from 3. That's funny. I did not see the same, but I'm sure there's those people out there, like, people need their scapegoat, it seems like. Without CJ, it's like that touch has been given to Nurk. We already ranted about it. If you're just joining the stream, we had a whole, like, 30-minute ranting and, like, argument section about Yusuf Nurkic. If you're into that, check it out after the stream or rewind or whatever you want to do. But Ant today, 7 for 16 from the field, 5 for 10 from 3. He had 23 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. 5 for 10 from 3. Great shooting clip from him tonight. He was 2 for 6 inside the arc. Would like to see him, finish the ball.
I think that's what it was, because I think he hit his last 2, so I think he missed his first 4 from 2, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that's more what it was, not just the 3-point shot. But
yeah, but like, dude, Ant in this type of game just feels so much more quiet than CJ. Like, if CJ had 23 points on this like shooting clip, like, you would have known it, because he would have taken 6 dribbles and done like a fake spin and like spin back, fade away mid range. You know what I mean? Whereas like Ant's just playing in the flow of things. I like the way Ant is getting his shots right now. There was I don't know if it was last game or the game before, but there's a game where there was a few shots I thought he kind of forced. But Ant on the season is averaging 22, 23 points per game, all in the flow of things. While Jerami Grant's averaging 21 right now, and Dame's doing what he's doing. Dame, I looked at this before this game, Eric. This is a side note. We'll talk about Ant in a second. Let's talk about Ant now. I have a side note that I want to touch upon with Dame that people should know. Because Dame's been really good this season, like shooting and scoring the ball efficiently. But Ant, I mean, he played within the flow of the offense, 23 points. He's... would like him to maybe be a little bit more efficient, but he struggled to start the year, then kind of broke out with the Denver game. Since then, he's been solid efficiency-wise. What'd you think of him today?
Yeah, he was pretty good. I still want to see him facilitate a little bit more on his drives with that second unit. He had a nice idea to dump it off on Eubanks when he drove late in the game, but got picked off. But yeah, I do want to see him get a little higher assist unit or numbers when he's playing with the second unit. But yeah, other than that, I don't feel like he forced a ton of shots. He's showing that he can get to his spots pretty much at any point of the game and against any defender. So I would like to see him do a better job. Like, it's the thing with CJ that drove us crazy is he would collapse the defense into that paint and he would shoot the ball every time instead of kick out, or seemingly every time. And just maybe use that to play make a little bit more and use that to work on your finishing in those spots that you can get to. But once he figures it out and can make shots, it's already a lot better than it was before Chauncey got here. So once he figures out how to pull up and hit those mid-range 2-pointers or get to the rim and draw fouls a little bit more, which is all stuff he's talked about.
He has been drawing fouls a little bit more. In the 6 games in November, he's averaging over 5 free throw attempts per game, which last year he averaged 2.
Yeah, that's something that I know he's working on, but you could just tell he's just like a little bit more consistent and a little bit more playmaking away from like truly breaking out into being like a upper echelon player.
Yep. Dude, the trolls in chat are just wilding today. Ant wouldn't start on any other team in the league other than the Spurs. Yeah, who would want a young 23-year-old 22-point per game, 22 points and 4 assists per game scorer that has been a 40% three-point shooter, is athletic? Like, who would want to start that, man? What are you talking about? Stop trolling in chat. This is getting ridiculous. But we got too many people trying to, I don't know if they're trying to get attention in chat. Probably just trying to get attention. I shouldn't give it to them. My bad. But Ant's been solid. I need to focus on him defensively a little bit more. Because I was doing that to start the season. He was good. I heard somebody say he was struggling defensively in this game.
Yeah, he wasn't great defensively. But like I said, a lot of that's just, I mean, what's he supposed to do when he gets switched off on to like Poeltl or like they have a lot of, like, Vassell's got some size. He was starting at the 2. Keldon Johnson's the 3, and he's got some size on Ant too. So like it's tough for our guards to guard them because only one of them can guard Trey Jones.
Yep. Who do you want to talk about next?
Let's move on to Dame, I guess. Yeah, I mean, we talked about him a little bit, but...
So did you know, going into this game, for his career, he was scoring at the highest rate ever on the most efficient clip ever.
Mm-hmm.
Per 100 possessions, going into this game, let me pull up like the exact numbers here. Going into this game, per 100 possessions, he was averaging 40 points per 100 possessions. His next closest year was 39 2 years ago in 2020, 2021. That season, he averaged 30 points per game. No, that season he averaged 28.8 points per game. The season before, in 2019-2020, he averaged 30 points per game, but he averaged 37.5 minutes per game. So, of course, he's going to score a little bit more. That's why you look at, like, per possession basis. This year going into this game, he was scoring at the highest clip ever. And efficiency-wise, on the season, this doesn't take this game into account, 65.6 true shooting percentage. The next closest was 2019-2020, averaged 62.7%. So 3 percentage points higher in terms of true shooting percentage, which I think is the best way to gauge efficiency. So it was scoring at the highest clip ever on the best efficiency ever. I just wanted to put that out there. Because like statistically, he's averaging 28.6 points per game. He's at a couple years higher than that, right? But I mean, the team maybe either played a faster pace or he played more minutes. I just thought that was interesting. Today he struggled, but I still feel like he's still coming off that injury, still trying to find his shot. 2 for 9. You know, like he'll have bad shooting nights. It's nothing to read too much into. But still, 22 points, got to the line only 5 times, right? So that kind of hurt his efficiency. He's done a good job getting to the free throw line this season. He was averaging 9.5 free throw attempts per game, which is a career high. Next closest 7.8. So he struggled getting to the free throw line to make up for a bad shooting night in terms of efficiency. But he had 11 assists, had good defense, was overall pretty good.
He tried to flop to get to the line.
I know, yeah. And then they overturned
challenged
that. That was a funny play to challenge there. Pop was just, I think that was sort of, I don't even think that was necessarily Pop thinking, okay, this is a good play to challenge. I think Pop was thinking, I'm not going to let you get away with that garbage. Yeah. I'm not letting you shoot off that.
It would have been the 5th foul on Sohan at that point.
That probably went into it, but I also think Pop would be the type to challenge that just to not let Dame have that call.
Yeah. True.
Just out of spite.
I mean, he was standing right next to it, so he got a good look at it.
Yeah, true. So, smart challenge by him. We need to talk about Chauncey's challenge at some point, too, because we had a debate last stream, and then Chauncey used it early tonight, and it got the Blazers 3 points.
I think Nurk missed the free throw, but got him.
I thought Nurk made the free throw.
Did he? I
don't remember. 2 or 3 points. 2 points opportunity at 3 points. Like, that was a perfect play to challenge. Mm-hmm. I was happy with that Chauncey challenge. That's why you challenged earlier. Like, this is the type of game. Yeah, 3 points.
We got 3 points, yeah.
I mean, this is the type of game where I feel like in the past, like, he wouldn't challenge that call. And then at the end of the game, it's like there's no obvious play to challenge, and he doesn't even use it. Mm-hmm. Instead of saving us 3 points.
Well, there was, Grant. I'm confused because a minute later, Grant missed 2 free throws. And yeah.
What the hell is that? Grant's shooting the ball phenomenally, but he's not shooting well from the free throw line. Like, he's been an 85% free throw shooter. Now he's at like 75%. So don't really know why he's shooting so much better from 3, but worse from the free throw line. But whatever, I'll take that trade off. But anything you wanted to say about Dame?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, he's just got to stop. I mean, turnovers are okay, just not the ones where you get caught and throw it across court, leading to a fast break on the other team. But I do like how, after struggling with it initially at the beginning of the season, he's been playmaking a lot better lately. And, 11 assists tonight. You love to see that. I think sometimes he's like even confused on how he's so open on some of his threes, and it's getting in his head a little bit. So he just needs to calm down and make the open ones. But yeah, it's this is the most impressed I've ever been with Dame, just effort level wise on defense. Like he's had good defensive games or games where he gets isolated by a Jason Tatum in the post and he stands him up several plays in a row in the bubble or whatever, whenever that was. But like, and just in terms of like his energy level and flying around and being like an aggressive defender, I thought this was one of the better efforts I've seen from him. And if that's going to be the case moving forward, even before we get Gary Payton back. I can't wait till we have our full complement of guys, because if he's doing that, it's going to start rubbing off on everyone else.
Yep. Any bench players you want to touch on more? We got Eubanks, Watford, Nas, Sharpe.
Just once again, real quick, Eubanks, great game, 33 minutes, plus 28. Just insane game from him. Didn't really do a lot of counting stats, 9.7 rebounds, but definitely had an impact on the game. Nas was not good. 14 minutes, 3 turnovers. Really rough. He had a horrible one at the end of
he threw one out of bounds, and then he threw one to Nurk that Nurk just like stepped out of the way of. Yeah. That was the other one that I meant to point out.
Yeah, there was one where there was only a few seconds left in the quarter, and he tried to throw some lob pass to half court for no reason, and it got picked off, and they went down and scored. And plays like that can cost you games in a close game. So we're lucky that didn't come back to haunt us. But it's can't be doing that. And then once again, Sharpe first half was absolutely a game changer, and he looked sensational. Mm-hmm. Like you said, didn't really see him much, or didn't really have an impact in the second half, but definitely had a good first half, which was good to see.
I want Sharpe shooting more threes. On the season, after today, he is 14 for 30. 14 for 30, Eric. That is one make away from 50%. He's shooting 47% from 3. His shot is in really good form. I mean, I want him shooting more threes. There was a play in the second half. He passed up an open 3 just to swing the ball to Hart, who doesn't want to shoot open 3s. And Sharpe didn't shoot the 3. I like seeing him make that extra pass, but shoot the ball.
Yeah, he had another. I think he did that twice today, where it's like great, like you catch it and swing it quick to the corner. That's usually a great play, and a good unselfish play usually leads to an open 3. But Hart's not shooting it, so just shoot it yourself.
Yeah. I can't believe I'm asking Sharpe to be more selfish. If anything, going into the season, I thought there was going to be situations where we were asking him to be less selfish.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if he has more than a handful of assists on the whole season, right?
But it's not about him being selfish.
Right, I mean? Yeah. That's not what I'm saying. I just, he doesn't... He's going to learn this, but yeah, eventually the way he can get to his spots, like I was talking about with Ant, should lead to assists.
He has 5 assists this year in 13 games. No. In... How many minutes did he play? 23. He's played 273 minutes, has 5 assists. Per 36, he's less than an assist per 36. So, yep. but I mean, he's just playing off of guys and cut. You know what I mean? He's just playing off of things and hitting shots. It's not like he's dominating the ball and not passing it. So I don't really care about that,
Yeah, and the other thing too is you can't quantify just the buzz and momentum and excitement he provides when he comes in and does something special. He hits a shot, the crowd's going crazy. The crowd was completely out of this game because the Spurs just come and punch us in the face right from the beginning, down 16-4. And so players like that just come in and electrify the crowd and get the team buzzing. That's like a special skill too. And everyone's just holding their breath every time he does something, because you're about to maybe witness the most incredible play you've ever seen. So hopefully he continues to do that, and he's been really impressive with his minutes this year. And that's been my favorite part, is just how amped up everyone gets when he's on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, he came in 16-4, hits that 3, makes it 16-7, just providing that spark. That's what you want from bench guys. Just to come in, and when the starters just aren't getting it done to start the game, come in and provide that spark. The Blazers have luckily had that this year. I would wish they didn't need that as much of the start games. We already talked about that, but that's what you want from Shaedon and Gary Payton II when he's healthy, and Nas. Unfortunately, I didn't talk a whole lot about Nas, man, but I wonder if the fact that he's had a couple good games but then doesn't end up seeing more minutes, I wonder if that's affecting him. His effort level just doesn't seem like what you would expect out of him.
No, as you said?
Yeah, Nas. There's something, dude. There's something wrong, either like mentally or I can't figure it out with him because defensively he has not been good on or off the ball this year.
Yeah, and he had a play where he gets blown by Dougie McBuckets today, and has to foul him. I think he got an and one on that one. So, I don't know. I thought his energy level had been good the last couple games, but tonight just wasn't great. I don't know, but like, it's not really. He's just kind of out there. They're not really doing anything to help him either. It seems like they're just like he'll shoot a three if he has to, but a lot of times with our second unit, we're not running any kind of offense, and it's just like watch Simons try to score, and then like he gets the ball with like 5 seconds left in the shot clock and has to try and create something. It hasn't really looked. It didn't look good tonight, but he has done some. He's had some good finishes. He shot the three well going into this game.
That's what's frustrating though. It's like Nas has been hella efficient. He's been so efficient this year, man. Going into this game, 54% from the field, including 60% from 2, 46% from 3. True shooting percentage was 65%.
Yeah.
Like, athletic forward that should be really good defensively, shooting those numbers. Like, that's what the Blazers have needed for years. Andy's only 22 years old, but he's not good defense. Like, right now, he's a better offensive player than defensive player. I just don't understand why. Because it's like, he has all the physical tools to be a good defensive player. Mm-hmm. The off-ball stuff is like, dude, like, I don't know. He's not making as many blatant mistakes as he did last year, but he's still just not good. On the ball, he's gotten worse. And then it's like he'll have a good game, though, but then he won't play more. It's just, the whole Nas situation is very confusing to me, and it sucks, because it's like, if he could just figure it out defensively, I mean, he's been good offensively. I think some of that is, he doesn't have to do a whole lot, so, if you put him in a higher usage role, he's probably not shooting the same numbers, and this is small sample size. I don't think he's a 46% three-point shooter, but, like, this is what you wanted to see, right, on the offensive end. So, I don't know. I still think he's a key player for this team to figure out. It just seems like they're no closer to figuring it out because he shot the ball well but has regressed on ball defensively and isn't playing. And Gary Payton II is supposed to come back at some point, so then what happens?
Well, to be fair, he had the same surgery Gary Payton II did. I think it was like a month and a half before that, and he was ready to play sooner than Gary Payton now that he's not going to be back for this game. So I think maybe it's kind of like with AJ Griffin, kind of a weird comparison, but at Duke, like, he was like unbelievable hitting threes, right? But like, he was this like super athletic guy in high school, and then he had injuries, and then he hasn't really quite looked the same since. So Nas last year has the shoulder thing, and then right after that, they decided to have the core surgery for him. And I just feel like his athleticism is zapped right now. I don't know if it's something that can easily be recovered once he gets more comfortable and just back to being himself. So that might just be it, that there's some lingering effects, and maybe that's why they're being a little more cautious with Peyton, is that maybe he just wasn't quite ready, and they feel like if they would have let him sit a little bit more, he would have had maybe an excuse for this versus throwing him out there like Nurk tonight, and then everyone dogs on you because you're playing like crap, you know? So maybe there's a little bit of that going on, and then that affects confidence and your mental state as well. So I think we just got to remember that there's a reason why they're not playing in major minutes outside of a couple games where they pretty much had to because of injuries. So like, I think they're just trying to get him, 15 minutes a game just to get him maybe going eventually. But we also haven't really needed Nas too much in any of these games. So I think that's something that, like, we're trying to help him, but he's just not there yet.
So he can't be traded for a while, correct? Entire season because he just signed this extension, or how does that work?
No, he can be traded at any point. He's just on a poison pill
Oh, he's
contract.
on a poison pill.
But it's
Okay,
not
but
since he signed for so little. The poison pill isn't that
yeah,
much
yeah. So
more because
okay,
he's
he's
making
kind
like
of
4 million. I think the poison pill is like 6 million, so it would be possible to
well,
trade
it's
him.
like 7 million a year.
But
That's 32 divided by 5. That's 6. Yeah, it would be easy. It's a difference of a couple mil. So, but Nas, what value does Nas have? Why would you trade Nas right now? Like,
yeah,
like
it doesn't.
just trade him for Christian Wood. What? The Mavs are not trading Christian Wood for Nas. Like, and Christian Wood, like, how does Christian Wood help this team?
He makes like 12 or 13 million.
Like
But
Christian Wood would be nice off the bench, I guess, but like he has some question marks, like character wise, it seemed like from the past, and defensively, he's not the best player. Like just the whole culture of this team, I don't know if Christian Wood fits, which that matters. That matters. It's shown this year to matter, right? Like, I don't know. It's just why? What's the point? Nas doesn't have enough trade value to get you Christian Wood. Nas doesn't have trade value right now because he's barely played this year. Yeah, he shot the ball well, but small sample size. He looks injury prone. He hasn't like proven that he can stay consistently healthy for a whole season. He hasn't proven he can shoot the ball consistently well for a whole season. Like, yeah, he's young and on a good contract, but the only value he has is to, like, a rebuilding team or a young team trying to take a flyer on him, thinking that they can turn him into, like, somebody that's a bargain at that contract, which he absolutely could be. But that's not trade value for a contending team unless they're desperate for a forward. But that's the thing is, like, if they're desperate for a forward, if they're going to trade value, they're going to trade value for somebody better and more proven. The only way a team that's contending that needs a forward is going to trade for Nas is if it's a situation where it's like, oh, well, we only got like a second-round pick. Okay, well, let's see who we can get for a second-round pick or maybe 2 second-round picks. You're not going to get a better player for him from that type of team. So that's the thing is like whenever somebody's struggling or not playing much, it's always like, oh, just trade him, just trade him, just trade him. But it doesn't make sense. You're selling low on Nasir Little if you trade him. You're selling low. He has more value to us as a part of this roster and what he could potentially become than he does on the trade market.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd say the same thing about Nurk.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the thing is like how much value do they have to other teams on the trade market and what other teams are looking for and how much value do they have to us being a part of this organization in the short term and the long term. That's what you have to weigh. Like So yeah, no, I would absolutely like if you have to throw him in to match salary and you're getting back a really good player, yeah, you do it. But you like him being the main piece going out, I don't see a trade making sense.
That's what I was gonna say is like, yeah, if that's the only scenario I see him being traded is if you're getting like a KD or something and you have to include his salary because of the hard cap to make it work financially or something, you know. But I don't see that happening this year.
This isn't 2K.
Yeah.
Anyone else you want to touch on?
I mean, the only guy we haven't talked about is Trendon. Outside of a nice fake and then drive he had and finished over Poeltl. He was kind of rough tonight too. Had that flagrant foul on a 3-point shooter. I think that's the third time in just a few games that he's been back that he's fouled someone on a 3-point shot. So that's got to stop as well. Got to close out better and not right at the guy. Like you can see, it's kind of like what we were talking about with Nurkic. You can see the intrigue with Watford, the ability to handle the floor, the ability to get to the basket and finish with both hands, the ability to grab a rebound, push it up the floor. Some of the instincts on defense are good awareness-wise. He's just not putting it all together, having some bad turnovers and things like that. So I think it's fine. He's still in his second year as an undrafted free agent last year. And I think he'll be fine too. We got to also remember he was dealing with an injury and he didn't play much either for a while. So I think he'll be okay. But right now, I think it's pretty clear that if we're playing a team that has a center in the game, that Eubanks is the right player that or is playing better than him. If we're playing a smaller team, I think maybe you try Watford out, but I definitely see why Chauncey's leaning more towards Eubanks at this time.
Yep, it makes sense. Wofford's still kind of getting his legs under him at this point after missing some time. It sucked that he missed that time. I think Watford is just good if this team's moving the ball offensively. But the problem is like this team has been so sloppy with the ball, and Trent has been a little sloppy, and then defensively, he's been okay, I guess. But I think last year he had some better moments defensively than he's had, in his limited time this year. So still definitely a piece that's nice to have on this team that you don't have to play or rely on, but can provide you a different look at that center position. It's nice just having options. You don't have to necessarily use those options, but it's nice having versatility and different things that you can do, different players that you can mix and match together to give different looks, and that type of stuff is hard to play against. Golden State has always had those types of players, what I mean? Those specific role players, the Sean Livingstons and stuff like that, where it's like they can provide some problems. There's a quote that I want to read off, Eric. From one Damian Lillard. You talked about how you thought his effort was phenomenal defensively in this game. He was quoted after the game. He said, quote, "I think people have said things about me defensively without understanding what real responsibility is when you're leading a team and how hard that is, so I make it a point. We gonna see about it." End quote.
Can you read that again for the people in the back?
People in the back? Are you one of the people in the back?
Yeah.
Man, stop worrying about chat, man. He said, "I think people have said things about me defensively without understanding what real responsibility is when you're leading a team and how hard that is, so I make it a point. We gonna see about it."
Nice. Well, today he was about it. I don't know if that is sustainable, but I really liked it. Like I said, there was a play. I wanted to put this on Brandt's breakdown, but there was a play where he shot the gap, got up. There was a player, I forgot who it was, dribbling 5 feet behind the 3-point line near the top, and he got up in his face and was super quick moving his feet right up in him. You hardly ever see that out of Dame. He's usually standing more straight up and not really aggressive or in good defensive position. And he was pressuring him and didn't relent the whole possession, and we got a stop, and it was really cool. I was like, whoa, that was Dame. It was jarring watching him, some of his efforts tonight on defense. And if he could ever figure out how to properly navigate a screen and we don't have to hide him in the corners, I think this defense could be a top 5 defense.
Yep, absolutely. Let's jump into Brandt's breakdown, but before we do, join our Discord. We've been doing game threads, and we have a gaming section in there, and Twitter feed section, and the Blazers schedule, all sorts of stuff. If you have any recommendations, by the way, if you're already in there, let me know. We can, always try and add stuff, but we've been trying to reimagine and improve our Discord. Shout out to Grant for helping me with that. If you're not a part of our Discord, it is the #1 place for the Blazers Uprise community. You get to interact with other Blazer fans, whether you like to or not, because some of you, guys have been bickering this stream. But definitely go check that out. We're interactive on there. You guys can talk to us as well. There's voice chats and everything that we hang out in sometimes, so it's a good way to just be a part of the community. I posted a link in chat. I'm also going to post a link in the description box, so definitely go check out our Discord. That is the ad for this part of the stream. It's our own Discord. Anyway, let's jump into the one, the only Brandt's breakdown. Play #1, Eric. Tie game, 51-51. What do we got?
All right, so this is going to be one of those examples of not only Dame making an incredible play, but the whole team rotating really well. So we have this set up. So Poeltl's going to try to screen Dame. Dame does a good job of getting through it. And Jones is going to pass over to Vassell, And you can see because of how Dame aggressively got through this in the next slide, Poeltl comes to screen, and it's way beyond the 3-point line. So they've already kind of taken him out of a lot of things they like to do. Because if you set this screen closer to the 3-point line, it's a lot easier to hit Poeltl on the roll, or for Vassell to come off the screen and get a shot against Eubanks. So I don't like the switch here. Dame ends up switching onto Poeltl, and Eubanks is on Vassell. I don't like either of those. I felt like with how high the screen is, Dame could have gone under and still gotten to a 3-point shot if Vassell does it. So I don't like the switch there. But since the switch happens, there's nothing we can do for that particular problem. So Vassell's going to then try to drive on Eubanks. And Eubanks does a pretty good job of staying in front of him in the next slide. And then in the next slide, look where Dame is and look where Ant is. So Ant's the help and Dame's trying to stay in front of him. But Dame does a really, you probably missed this if you're watching the game. He jumps in front of Poeltl and switches back onto Vassell while trying to guard him in the post. And it was just a quick, decisive, really smart move. And Dame ends up getting back to Vassell. Eubanks recovers back to Poeltl. And all of a sudden, they don't have an advantage. And Ant's also there for the help. Grant's there for the help. And Vassell has nowhere to go because Dame got up in his face and cut off the drive while trying to hold off Poeltl in the post. Just a great play by Dame here. And then in the next slide, Vassell's going to pass across court to Keldon Johnson, number 3, up top there. Grant's going to do a good job of closing out at him. And we just noticed Ant in the previous slide was all the way down on the other block guarding Poeltl, and he makes it all the way out to his man in the corner on the closeout, does a great job of it, getting there quickly, recognizing that it's his job to get out there. Grant also with a nice closeout. And all of a sudden, we're down near the end of the shot clock, 2.8 seconds left, and we have this play completely defended off.
Yep. Love to see it. Good rotations. The Blazers have done a better job rotating. I think that's the biggest difference between this year and last year's. In this situation, even with the great defense from Dame, it's like they're not rotating out quick enough there, or like Ant's still standing where he's standing, and then the ball gets cornered, and it's like, oh crap, I gotta get out. Like, you gotta rotate when the ball's in the air. I love this from Ant because you can already tell that he was rotating right when Vassell threw this pass. That's when you gotta start rotating if you're Ant. Right when Vassell threw this pass, Ant started running back out to the corner because he knew that's where his rotation was. That's the thing, with just knowing your responsibilities defensively can make it so much better because you can react quicker. You don't have to think. So that's absolutely perfect from Ant.
Yep.
Love to see it. And love to see the switch from Dame. One little side thing on the other side of things for the Spurs here, like, if this is Dame and he has Eubanks on him, he's not gonna drive into the big man that has a guard on him, right? Yeah. Like, Vassell's been good this year, but you can tell he doesn't have the reps as like being a main ball handler or a main guy like that, because this decision to drive into Poeltl, not the best. And but Dame, phenomenal defense switching back. I love it.
I think at this point though, I think he thinks Dame, because Dame was like sliding to the top left of Poeltl, so I think he thinks if Dame doesn't shoot that gap, he goes right around both of them and uses them as like a kind of a screen, and probably gets to the rim on Ant there if Dame doesn't shoot the gap. And no one was expecting Dame to do that, because like how often does Dame like make an incredible defensive play like that, right? So he probably thought all he had to do was curl around Poeltl right here, and he's got an easy lane to the basket.
Okay, that makes more sense than what I thought his decision was. Okay, if he sees that, I get it. Still, a great defensive play. Dame just shooting that gap. I mean, he was good defensively today, man, and the rest of the team had their struggles. But love seeing Dame step up and take on the challenge. Love hearing that post game. Love the stop he got down the stretch, that big time block he had on Bates Diop. Anyway, let's.
Speaking of that,
Is that the next play? Oh, let's go. All right, cool. Let's do it. Play number 2.
So let's see what happens prior to that to see how this was set up.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a situation where the Blazers are in zone, and they're with the zone and the attention that we had to give Poeltl in this game. Eubanks has to kind of play up a lot higher than he would in a normal 2-3 zone. So he's got to come, and they have the ball with Batesy up there at the top. They're going to set a pick for Grant, but it's not going to matter because Grant's playing an area, not a man. So then if someone rolls to the basket, that would go with Eubanks' responsibility. So as we go to the next slide, we see that they end up going all the way through with Trey Jones goes all the way through there, doesn't stop, doesn't have an open pass. Hart then recovers. Grant does a nice job of getting out, so they have no outlet on that other side to pass to. And then they're going to send Vassell a down pick from Batesy up, and he's going to come up, and since it's a zone, Ant's just going to come there, so it has no effect on the play. However, it leaves a vulnerable spot on the backside, and that's Dame being posted up by Batesy up, and that's basically Poeltl's only decision here is to give it to him in the post. And as we know, it may be kind of deceptive, but Dame does have a knack of standing strong in these situations. But even if Batesy up makes this shot, out of all the players on the floor, wouldn't you take him making a fadeaway shot over Dame versus Poeltl, who's absolutely destroyed us, is 14 of 17 from the field and can't be stopped. Vassell and Keldon Johnson can get super hot from 3 and take over, as evidenced earlier in this game. So this is perfect, because even if Dame gets scored on, it might seem like it's bad defense, but you're making the other team make a play by someone who isn't used to having to score in a crunch time moment in a clutch game like this since maybe his Ohio State days. And so he gets Dame in the post, and he just simply tries to post him up and turn around and shoot over him. And when you get to the slide, Dame just says, "Give me that," and get that out of here. Weak stuff. And then Dame actually grabs the ball, and Batesy up lands on him, and he gets a foul, and we're headed the other way.
This is why Chauncey can get away with playing Dame in that bottom corner, because that is the problem. Is if you play guards down there at the bottom of the 2-3 zone, you can post them up with somebody bigger. Normally you'd have Eubanks helping, but Poeltl does a good job going through here too, keeping Eubanks away from the post up. So smart play by Poeltl to cut there, because obviously if Poeltl stays there, Eubanks just helps down. But that's why you can get away with it. That's why you can put Grant top of the zone with the length, and you don't have to worry about his screen navigation because it's a zone. If he gets screened, like you showed at the start of the play, it's not even his job to get through the screen, right? So you can disrupt with his length. But just in general, man, the Blazers' defensive principles. Or did you want to talk about the zone? I don't know. You were about to say something.
I was just going to say, it kind of depends on the team, because if that's, I'm trying to think of someone, I don't know if he will be this type of player, but that's something that a Keegan Murray or someone might take advantage of as he gets older. It depends on who the small forward is in that situation. I mean,
that was the power forward.
Yeah, or the power forward. I'm just saying, there might be forwards who could score on Dame in this situation in that instance, but
I think it's a situation though. If this is a better forward, Eubanks comes in doubles, and then Josh Hart's supposed to help over and take Poeltl, and then Grant's supposed to.
For sure.
In the worst case scenario, Grant might have to rotate all the way down to the corner, and you might have to rotate over. But
I I'd still,
but with it being a Bates D-op, it's like, and Poeltl going off, you let Dame have that challenge. But Dame's being so good in the low post throughout his entire career against bigger players that he can take on this challenge and win this challenge. So,
but when we talk about how like Grant gets taken out of plays, like he had no impact on this defensive play, right? Because he's at the top of the zone, and like yeah, he had that at one point in this play, he does a nice job of getting in the passing lane so they don't have that 3-point shot. But if Grant's in that spot and Dame's switched with him, we probably get a stop too, because then he's trying to post up on Grant. He might not even try to post him up. And then what do the Spurs do? So like that's the only difference I would say is like I still don't necessarily love Dame in the corner, but his effort level tonight was just like you could tell once Bates caught that ball, it's like, oh man, Dame's gonna own him here.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing though. If that's Grant down there, then they probably go away from him. You know, maybe go at Dame. Like, but the key for a zone a lot of times is to get the ball in the area that Poeltl has it, like beneath the top two guys, so that one of the bottom three has to come up and play defense, and that opens up the paint. Yeah. So having if you're trying to enter it to the high post, having that sort of length can disrupt that entry pass. And then if they get the ball to the high post free throw line area, Grant helping down, poking at the ball, that sort of thing can be disruptive. So I'm cool with that. It's inverted. It's a different look. And Dame is a good enough low post defender that I don't think he's going to get picked on too much. I mean, like even a Jason Tatum, you know what I mean, has tried to post up Dame before, and Dame's been able to do a good job of. But in general, man, I just wanted to say, the Blazers have been so good at being in the right spots in the zone defense this year, depending on where the ball is. Like, because what the Spurs were doing is they were back screening for Grant, right? And that guy would cut. That 33 or whoever that is. Yeah, 33. The guy who Hart's guarding now. That guy would cut through the paint.
Trey Jones.
Yeah, Trey Jones. He would cut through the paint. Or maybe it was somebody else, but they would cut through the paint and draw the big man, where, you know, Eubanks right now is the big man. They draw the center guy of the zone. Mm-hmm. And the center guy of the zone would drop under the rim, and then Poeltl would flash middle and get, like, there was a play in the first half, he got a floater over Nurkic because he flashed middle, and I think it was against the zone, and it was after, I'm pretty sure they ran this set, and Nurkic dropped to deal with the cutter, and Poeltl was able to get that floater. But two things are different here. One, it's Eubanks playing up higher, but then it's also Josh Hart coming over to take away that cut. Because if Josh Hart doesn't come over and Eubanks stays above the free throw line, that's a layup for Trey Jones. You hit him, like when he gets around the rim, because Eubanks isn't there. So this is Josh Hart knowing what they've been running all game long and helping over and helping down onto that cut to take it away. And then Eubanks is high enough where Poeltl isn't flashing to the middle of the paint. He's getting the ball above the free throw line where he's not really a threat, right? So big defensive play by Dame, but this team in the fourth quarter, D'ing up and playing better defense in the zone than they had maybe earlier in the game, learning from what the Spurs were trying to do against the zone defense. That's why the Blazers' zone defense has been so good, because you can generally like pick it apart in the gaps and look for specific things, and that Poeltl flash was there. And it's hard for, you know, the center can't deal with both the cutter and Poeltl, so you have to have help. And that was a really good job by Hart helping over. But then Grant was also, you can tell Grant was ready to help down onto the corner. That's who Grant ended up picking up in the next slide, is the guy that was in the corner. So Hart sliding over, Grant sliding over to help out Hart. I mean, that's just seamless. That's perfect zone defense. Mm-hmm. And the Blazers have, especially in fourth quarters, done a really good job of just being in the right spots and doing the right things positionally in a zone defense. Because if Grant doesn't come down to the corner here and Hart helps all the way into the paint, maybe that skip pass to the corner is a wide open three. So that's just smart. Smart by Hart, smart by Grant, Eubanks as well stepping up. Dame and Ant, you can already tell they're calling, you know, they know to switch, it's a zone, but they're still calling out and communicating good, and then Dame playing great low post defense. I mean, this was such a complete defensive possession. I'm happy, man. This is phenomenal.
Absolutely. And to see Dame cap it off with the block shot was just the perfect.
And then the flex, and then the three. Yeah,
Yeah.
after the misery that this game was at times.
Yep. Yeah, that pretty much. I mean, it was 110, 108 for a while, but when Dame hit that three, it was pretty much like you knew the Blazers would probably pull this out.
Yep, absolutely. All right, play number 3. What do we got here?
There's only 2.
Oh, I saw. Oh, okay, never mind. I saw like a third one that said it had been edited today or something, so I thought there was.
I just deleted out the third one from last week.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, yeah. And there is. Yeah, okay, cool. Anyway, that is Brandt's breakdown. 2 phenomenal plays. Love being able to break down a complete defensive possession with everybody doing the right things, and then Dame especially capping it off. Man, that's a great way to kind of wrap up the stream. Is there anything? Or no, we do have scores to go through. I do want to go through scores, so let's do that now. NBA scores from today. Still need to fix it and get it to say final. But that's when these games tipped off. I mean, every game is final right now. It's 11:44 on the West Coast. So Pelicans. Let me pull up the phone here, Eric. How many games were there today? Just 5?
It looks like the graphics are huge, so they don't all fit on there.
What graphics?
Like it.
Yeah, there's 5 games. There's 5 games, right? And then
I can't see who the Pelicans played on. Oh, never mind. I got it. Yeah, it was my screen.
It's up there. I don't know what you zoomed in on your screen or something.
Yeah,
I was very confused. Oh man. This anyway. Pelicans Grizzlies. 113-102 win for the New Orleans Pelicans. They moved to 8-6. Memphis is at 9-6. We won't have the standings. I need to automate those 2 as well, so that we can fire Krish. That's the goal. No, I'm just kidding.
This game featured Jaren Jackson Jr. making his return to the Grizzlies. Unfortunately for him, he was 3 for 14 and 0 for 7 from 3. Yeah.
So, I mean, he's their defensive guy. 5 blocks in this game. That's where his value is.
He had a couple amazing blocks.
But his potential was being a two-way guy, 20-point per game guy, efficient, and then dominant defensively. And he can score, he gets his shots up, but he's not efficient at all. He's just not his shot. I don't know what he shot last year, I forget, but I don't think he shot the ball great. It was actually worse than maybe his rookie year, I believe. In that form is just ugly. But good to see him back, I guess. Good to see him back. But for the Pelicans, 30 points from your own former Blazer, CJ McCollum, 11 for 23 from the field, 7 for 13 from 3, with 9 assists as well.
And Pelicans fans were ready to cut him in the first half of this game.
Really?
Yeah, he was struggling shooting, and then he made a couple threes and got going. But yeah, they've been a little frustrated with CJ's shooting struggles to start the season.
Yeah, which CJ's shooting 40% from the field and 30% from 3, which he has struggled to shoot the ball. You expect him to shoot better than that for sure. Blazer fans, I feel would have been even more pissed off about him shooting 40% from the field. But yeah, I mean, CJ, when he's not hitting shots, can be kind of rough. But he hit shots today, and I expect him to find his groove. He's too good of a scorer not to. When that happens, that is going to be a problem. They didn't have Zion today, and they beat the Grizzlies. They had 19 on 7 for 14 shooting from Ingram, 19 off the bench from Larry Nance Jr., 8 for 10, 1 for 1 from 3. Dude, Larry Nance is 0 points on 1 shot in 20 minutes, and the next game he'll have 19.
All right, let me just point this out. Jonas Valanciunas, 14 minutes, 1 of 4 from the field, 4 turnovers, only 3 rebounds.
Fouls.
He gets pulled from this game. Larry Nance they played Nance most of this game as the small ball setter. This stuff happens to other teams. It's not something that's exclusive to Yusuf Nurkic, okay? Almost every center outside of Jokic and Embiid have inconsistencies, bad games where they don't show up or look like they're lethargic, and the whole fan base wants to get rid of them. It's every center. It just, with the way the game flows nowadays, it just seems like so many centers don't move well or don't uh, seem like they care at points, but I promise you, it's not every setter that just magically disappears game in and game out. Like it's a league wide thing, except for the elite players.
So what you're saying is the Pelicans should trade Jonas Valanciunas for Yusuf Nurkic. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, so then both teams can just complain about their new center the whole time because they do the exact same crap.
Yup, exactly. And how much is Valanciunas making? Like $16 million a year?
I think almost exactly.
Yeah, I mean, like if Valanciunas is a good setter, Yusuf Nurkic is a good setter, and they have games like this, and they make the same amount of money. I mean, how much is Steven Adams playing? Steven Adams does this as well. Like. Yeah. But Steven Adams also shoots like 40% from the free throw line, so at least he has cool hair, though. Anyway, I love that you pointed that out.
Speaking of Steven Adams, 13 minutes tonight, 5 rebounds, which is probably a season low for him, and 2 turnovers in those 13 minutes as well, 2 points. So they decided not to play him either.
It was a bad day for centers today. And Steven Adams making $17 million. So, guys, Nurkic's first game back from an injury. Relax. Like, what's the excuse for Valanciunas and Steven Adams tonight? That's so funny. That's perfect. I brought up Steven Adams without even realizing that Valanciunas was going against him. Mm-hmm. And there's the same thing with him. So, perfect. That's hilarious. But yeah, 12 off the bench from Alvarado, 5 for 11, 13 from Trey Murphy, 5 for 11. He started. He was 3 for 6 from 3. And then Herb Jones, 4 for 7, 2 for 3 from 3. He had 10 points in the starting lineup as well. And then for the Grizzlies, 36 in the loss for Ja Morant, 36, 8 and 4 assists, 2 for 6 from 3, 13, 27 from the field for the star. Brooks, 6 for 18, 19 points because he got to the... He didn't get to the free throw line much. I thought he got to the free throw line more than that. But 19 points on 6 for 18 shooting. That's the Dillon Brooks experience, Eric. Super inefficient. Very inefficient. Yeah. But will get his shots up, just like Jaren Jackson Jr.
Yeah, they had, at halftime, I think Ja had 25 and the rest of the team had about the same, but it was like on much worse efficiency. So they really need someone else other than Ja to help him out.
Yeah, they didn't have Desmond Bane. That's their number 2.
Yeah, he's going to be out 2 to 3 weeks at least.
They need him because they can't rely on anybody else consistently to score for them. Mm-hmm. Like, Conchar started. He was 4 for 6, 9 points in 37 minutes. Okay, cool, whatever. Like, Brandon Clark isn't really much of a scorer. He plays off guys well. But he had 15 points, 13 rebounds, 3 assists. Good game for him, but you can't consistently rely on him to score. Like, Tyus Jones, Santi Aldama, David Roddy, Jaren Jackson Jr., Dillon Brooks. You can't rely on any of those guys to consistently score the basketball at an efficient clip. Jaren Jackson Jr. and Dillon Brooks in this game were 9 for 32 from the field and 2 for 16 from 3. So I think that's going to be the one thing holding Memphis back, but I think they will be a player at the trade deadline. I think it's pretty obvious they need a third scorer like the Blazers have right now.
And they have the pieces to potentially get a very good player if one becomes available.
Kevin Durant.
Yeah. I mean, that's like
Kevin Durant goes to Memphis.
That's like a sneaky spot for like a good player like that if they get traded.
Absolutely.
I don't know if they'd be willing to. It'd be interesting to see if there was a deal that kind of was an all-in move like that, if the Grizzlies would do that and possibly risk, once Durant in a couple of years isn't quite the same player, if they'd risk Ja's future after that, or they would just keep going with the way they do with developing young guys or whatever. That's going to be a tough decision for them in the next year or two, because it's something that the Blazers, as we all know, decided not to really do, is make that all-in move. So it'll be interesting to see as Ja gets older if he'll have those same problems where he wasn't really paired with another all-star for several years or whatnot.
Yep, absolutely. You want to talk about the next game?
Yeah, so the Mavericks jumped all over the Clippers in this one. They were up 25 at one point. It looked like a blowout. And then the Clippers in the second half just come out on fire in the third quarter, make this a game, came down very close. I think our guy Rocco had a bad turnover with Butterfingers towards the end of the game in just 5 minutes. Yeah, the Mavericks escape with a win at home again, and the Clippers have been struggling. I mean, they can't seem to get on a win streak. They're now 8-7, and they're still missing Kawhi, of course. But
They're just
yeah,
not a good team without Kawhi. They are
yeah,
very average.
yep.
They
I
need,
mean,
honestly,
they're
even
good
with
enough for the play-in, but that's about it.
But like Eric, it's like they were like, oh, I think they're going to be the ones. They look at that depth, like the roster should be better. But I mean, this team is an average, like a play-in team without Kawhi. With Kawhi, are we sure they're even like contenders? Because I mean, yeah, Kawhi's a hell of a player, but they're just not that good without him.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he takes them that like that's a big jump for just one player to have that much of an impact. I know it's Kawhi, so maybe he could, but I don't think it's a sure thing that they would be contenders even with him at this point because, like, Powell's been terrible, Covington's been terrible. Like, Batum was 7 for 7 from 3 today, 22 points, had a huge impact off the bench. But it's just, I don't know, man. They just don't impress me as much as I thought they would.
I think Kawhi, though, has proven that he can carry a team, and as long as the other players play respectable. So if you get him and Paul George, it's tough to stop. But I mean, they haven't proven anything on the Clippers yet. So,
but I mean, is that harder to stop than Damian Lillard and Jerami Grant right now?
I mean, if they're both clicking, I'd say yes because they're, I don't know, they're so dynamic and defensively. They're.
I mean, if you're talking about the defensive
above.
end, but in terms of like offensively,
Yeah.
I mean, but like Blazers have been a good defense, so that's the thing is it's just like I don't know if the Clippers would necessarily be better than the Blazers or better than the Grizzlies or better than I mean Dallas has given them some playoff battles when they had Kawhi. So I don't know, man. I don't know why I drank the Kool-Aid on the Clippers because Kawhi can't even stay healthy. If he is healthy, I don't know if they are like head and shoulders above a number of teams in the West.
I mean, he wasn't supposed to be out all of last season, so they were super cautious and let him get extra rest. Didn't even bring him back if they were going to make the playoffs or the play-in or whatever. So it's kind of frustrating to see him not healthy again or having knee issues, but that might just be a case where he's never really the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is why it was risky to trade for him when they were Toronto. Like, I mean, in hindsight, it looks like the easiest no-brainer decision to trade DeRozan in a first and Jakob Poeltl for him. But at the time, like, no one even knew if he was going to, like, be the same ever again. Most people thought he'd go more this route to where you could never depend on him. But he just had that one magical season where they load managed him a lot, but he was there in the playoffs when it mattered and was healthy and guided him to a win. But yeah, it's I mean, obviously they'll take that trade 100 times out of 100 looking back on it, but a lot of teams, including the Blazers, were scared to offer up too much for Kawhi at the time, coming off that quad injury that the Spurs were saying wasn't serious and Kawhi was trying to say it was. And then there was some rumors that it was like a career-ending thing possibly and all that. So
the Jazz are falling off, Eric. 10-6.
Maybe.
They've lost 3 in a row. They lose to the New York Knicks at home.
They took over first. And see, this is I forgot who in chat said it earlier, but this is the kind of game, like, bad if you're not really a great team, like you maybe lose one you shouldn't at home.
Mm-hmm.
And we find a way to win. The Jazz do not.
Yeah, they lose to the Knicks, who are now 7-7. Utah falls to 10-6. For the Knicks, Brunson, 25 points, 8 assists, 3 rebounds, 10 for 20 shooting. He had a great game. Cam Reddish started, played 33 minutes. He had 19 points. On 7 for 13, Julius Randle, 15 points, 5 rebounds, and an assist on 5 for 11. 18 from RJ Barrett. He was 5 for 18, though. RJ Barrett has sucked this year. He's
Yeah,
averaging
can't
19
shoot.
points per game, but it's not efficient.
Right.
43% from the field, 31% from three. Doesn't really make plays for others.
He gets to the line 14 times tonight.
He
Yeah,
gets to the line a lot.
yeah,
I don't know how, but
yeah.
yeah, so that's the one redeeming value in his scoring, I guess. But dude, remember when RJ Barrett was in high school? He was supposed to be like potentially a point forward or close to it, like in terms of his passing.
Yeah, I mean, he has shown the ability to pass, but yeah, I mean, there was a point before that season started at Duke that he was a higher rated prospect than Zion was,
Yeah,
and
he
of
was
course,
looked at as like potentially like not generational, but like he was gonna be a star, maybe a
mhm.
superstar. And he was like the number one rated player in his class at a point. Like Steve Nash was like a mentor or something. They're both Canadian, and like his passing ability was something that was raved about a lot. And it's just funny because now he's just like a shot chucker that doesn't really pass. Yeah, but just less than 3 assists per game, and for how much he has the ball and how many shots he gets up, that's not impressive. So it's just kind of been interesting to see that. But Knicks get the win though. Jericho Sims 11 points off the bench. He got some time.
He had a
And
nasty alley-oop dunk over the top of someone. It was crazy.
that dude jumps out of the gym, and
Yeah,
he's a big man, so
yeah.
it's even harder to deal with. But
Hmm.
as far as the Jazz go, 27-11 from Kelly Olynyk, who was 7 for 13 from the field and also 11 for 13 from the free throw line. Don't know how he got so many freaking free throws, but the other starting big was Isaiah Hartenstein, who had 4 fouls in 22 minutes. He's been known to foul a bit. But 27 for Olynyk, great game for him. Marketing 5 for 11 from the field. Only 11 shots in 30 minutes. He had 13 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. I've said this in the past. I feel like the way Marketing gets his buckets, in like him averaging 22 a game, the way he gets his buckets maybe isn't going to be fully sustainable. Because it's a lot of like straight line drives and cuts, which is weird to see somebody score that often off that type of stuff. Like, he struggled shooting the 3 ball on the season. He is maybe a little bit better now. Yeah, 34% on the season. He was below 30 there. So it's just going to be interesting to see if he can maintain what he did early this season over the course of the season, because it's not like he's creating a ton of stuff off the dribble. It's just like straight line drives and cuts. It's
Yeah.
weird.
I mean, you don't really have a great facilitator or someone getting him open shots either. So it'd be interesting to see in future years if they start building a team and he's a part of that core, if that changes at all.
Yeah, but I don't know. I view him as a guy to play off of others, not necessarily a star. You know, like have put the ball in his hands, he's gonna make things happen type of guy. So Clarkson, 15 points, 5 for 16, 3 for 11 from three. He shot the ball very well to start the season. He's played phenomenal, and that's part of the reason Utah started 10-3. But I do not trust that to maintain itself. I don't like Clarkson. This is the type of games I expect from him more regularly. 5 for 16.
Mm-hmm.
Conley 3 for 10, 1 for 6. Malik Beasley had 14 off the bench, 5 for 12. Horton Tucker 2 for 5 had 10. Fantaccio played in 17 minutes. He was 3 for 5 from 3, had 9 points. I need to see what this dude looks like. That's not what I was expecting him to look like. Simone Fantaccio. Love saying that name, but yeah. So Utah falls to 10-6, and then Eric, tell me about what the hell this 2K score is.
All right. Well, Sacramento scored 36 points in the first quarter, and that was their worst quarter of the night because they scored 37 in the second, 42 in the third, and 38 in the fourth. They scored 73 points at halftime and blow that out of the water with 80 in the second half. Just crazy performance by the Kings. Durant played 31 minutes in the blowout still, had 27 points. And then they got a lot of garbage time. Ben Simmons had 11 points. Is that a season high for him?
Yeah, he saw the other team score so much. He was like, I should score. But he didn't even start.
Nope.
He's not starting anymore, apparently.
And yeah, so there was a stat going into this game. I don't know if it was still true today, but as of yesterday, I think the Nets had the number 1 defense in the league without Kyrie and the last place defense with him. And that's obviously going to be severely affected by this game.
That might have went from first to last.
Yeah. So that's really bad by them. And what's crazy is their starting lineup of the Kings didn't really do a whole lot. You got 19 from Herter, 14 from Fox, 16 from Barnes, 17, 7 and 7 from Sabonis. But it was Terrence Davis off the bench who was a plus 35, was 12 of 16 from the floor, 7 of 10 from deep, and had 31 points. Terrence Davis.
They had 83 bench points.
That's insane.
80, yeah, Terrence Davis. Malik Monk was 6 for 9, 15 points in 17 minutes. Trey Lyles. Bro, how the... Okay, question. Trey Lyles played 18 minutes. How the hell did he get up 13 shots?
I mean, the guy likes to shoot.
I mean, still though, like, it's just, and he was 4 for 13. Everybody else shot the ball well. And Trey Lyles is out here going 4 for 13 in 18 minutes. That's wild. Shot 94 shots as a team, 56 for 94, 60%, almost 50% from 3, 20 for 41. Just statistically insane. 39 assists.
And the Nets are our next opponent, so got to take care of business there. So now we see the Nets. The Nets get blown out. The Jazz lose at home and have lost 3 straight. These next 2 games need to be wins, I think, especially with that tough 4-game road trip looming.
I mean, we can afford, luckily with this hot start, we can afford to lose one of these games, but these are games that the Blazers will be favored in. Obviously, you're talking about the best team, top team in the West right now. They're number 1, right? So any home game against pretty much anything right now, the Blazers will probably be favored. The Blazers were 8.5-point favorites tonight. It's kind of crazy to see that, but 10-4. Denver's 9-4. 9-4, a half game back, and then Utah's 10-6, 1 game back. Phoenix, Dallas, and Memphis are all 8-5. Memphis is 9-6, but they're all a game and a half back.
And Jokic just went into health and safety protocols tonight and is going to be out for at least their next game, possibly longer. So, yeah, they're going to be without him too.
Who do you put on KD to start the game?
Jerami Grant.
You put Grant on him?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the type of guy you want Jerami Grant to be on. Yeah, if you run pick and rolls, Grant's not the best getting through him, but, the length and the foot speed and all that type of stuff, that's what you brought in Grant. That's the type of guy you brought in Jerami Grant to guard, not De'Aaron Fox.
I actually really like the matchup with forwards who aren't necessarily, KD gets to a spot and shoots, but it's a lot of times in isolation or off curl screens and dribbling. So I don't really see that being a huge problem for Grant. I mean, yeah, Durant's going to score his and get that over, and pretty much anyone. But I think it's going to be nice, especially if Kyrie's still out. You don't have to worry about him as much because I could just see us putting Grant on Kyrie and. Because that's what we've done almost every day, so every game. But I think Grant's the perfect guy to put on KD. If that exists, that it's not really I didn't mean it in a he's going to shut him down type of way, but that's a good matchup for him, I think.
Yep, there are currently, I can't believe we're halfway done with November. There's 8 games left in November. There's a game every other day until a back-to-back on November 29th and 30th. Right, so Brooklyn, Utah at home, then 4-game road trip. Milwaukee, Cleveland, New York, and Brooklyn again. Then they come home for a game. They play the LA Clippers. Then on November 30th, they go on the road to play the LA Lakers. So in terms of games the Blazers should win, maybe the 2 easiest games in this stretch are probably the Nets at home, KD and the Nets at home, and then LeBron and the Lakers on the road. I can't believe what the hell. But what should be the goal to final 8 games? I mean, you do got the Bucks and the Cavs on the road. That's difficult, and then probably are going to drop another at some point. 5-3 for the rest of the season, I think, or for the rest of the month is reasonable.
Yeah, I would be ecstatic with 5-3. I think 4-4 is acceptable. So that's why it's important to get these 2 home games so you kind of bank a couple wins. And then even if you go 2-4, like we talked about on the 6-game road trip, you're still fine. But yeah, 4-4, 5-3, I think is
5-3 is my goal.
Good. Yeah,
because they can go on the road and beat Milwaukee or Cleveland. They can be competitive against anyone if they play the right way. You know what I mean? It's a different mindset. Go on the road and beat Milwaukee. Drew's missed some time. They still don't have Chris Middleton. Like, yeah, they've started the season hot, but I mean, you're 10-4. They're 10-3. And you've played a harder schedule than them. The Blazers have played a harder schedule than them. And they've missed guys as much as Milwaukee has. You know, they've had Giannis almost every game. So, yeah, go on the road and beat them. But 5-3, I think, is a reasonable goal. That would put the Blazers at 15-7 after the month of November, which, if you watch my schedule breakdown, 15-17 is awesome. That's phenomenal. Like I was saying, if they come out of November with a 500 record, it's an absolute success. I said that before the season, given how hard the schedule was before the season. So if they come out 8 games above 500, right now they're 6 games above 500, then yeah, that's great. So that's the goal. But it's nice that they didn't lose tonight. You know, just gotta play better against Brooklyn because, I don't know, man. Like Brooklyn's defense sucks, right? Like they gave up 153 points tonight. Don't make it easier on them with these dumb, stupid turnovers.
Yeah,
that's the key. But that game will be on Thursday. We'll have Blazers Uprise live before that game. We'll preview that game more, talk about that game, and you know. Do picks against the spread. See what happens tomorrow. How many games are there tomorrow?
I'm not sure. I think there's quite a bit.
There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games tomorrow. So we'll have some NBA action to maybe talk about, update a look at the standings on Thursday and all of that. As I said earlier, join our Discord. You can also become a channel member by clicking the join button below. You get a monthly member message. And then if you're a channel member and you're in our Discord and your name isn't green, message me on Discord or tag me in the general discussion tab and let me know what your YouTube name is so I can double check that and make sure that you're who you say you are and you're a channel member so I can give you the channel member role in Discord and highlight your name as green in the Discord. So some of you I have, but some of you I couldn't find your names in our Discord. So definitely check that out. Link in description. Second channel link in description. Anything else to plug? I feel like I'm always forgetting something.
No, just want to thank everyone for watching and hope you have a good couple days until Thursday.
Yep, looking forward to that. Anyway, this has been the Blazers Uprise. Let me make sure we haven't missed any donuts. Let me just double check. Oh, shout out David C. Yes, I figured we missed a donut. Sorry, David. Meant to think that earlier. But shout out David C. with the $2 donut. Says, Moto was rocking tonight, particularly in the fourth. Thank you, David, for that $2 donation. And yeah, Moto sounded loud there in the fourth after sounding kind of quiet all game long. I can't blame them for being quiet, but a lot of fans are loving this team. I'm loving this team. Would have loved them to play better tonight, but you're going to have games like this. Just got to take care of the win, which the Blazers did, beating the Spurs 117-110. We'll have you covered with more Trailblazer content in the days ahead, in the months ahead, as we dive deeper into the difficult or supposedly difficult month of November, which the Blazers are taking head on and excelling against. Anyway, thank you to all you guys who donated. This was, there's a lot of donations tonight, so appreciate all of you, Caleb, Mike, and the rest of you who donated. And then shout out to BetOnline for sponsoring this stream. This has been the Blazers Uprise Postgame Show presented by BetOnline. We are out of here until Thursday. As always, peace out. Go Blazers.